Velodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, Mexico City. Hello there and welcome. Keith's at the Macau Grand Prix this weekend, so I'm delighted to welcome you to the 19th and final round of the kart FedEx Series. We're saying a number of goodbyes tonight, leaving the series, as we know, Cristiano Di Matta for the Toyota Formula One team, and also amongst the drivers heading towards the IRL are Dario Franchitti, Michael Andretti and Scott Dixon, while Christian Fittipaldi heads off for the world of NASCAR. But first, let's say some hellos. And our guests tonight are Paul Cherry, our resident kart expert. Hello, Paul.
Hi.
And he's joined by former Indy Lights ace Christian Colby, who has also raced in Mexico. So welcome to both of you, gentlemen. We're very close to the start time, so let's cross straight over to Mexico City, where a huge crowd has gathered to join our race commentators Jeremy Shaw and Lee Diffie.
Well, guys, the final race of any season is always exciting for a variety of reasons, but here in one of the world's largest cities, Mexico City, this is phenomenal down here. The atmosphere is just electric. There's so many people coming to see this motor race. And Jeremy Shaw, welcome to you. What they've done with this facility in the last 6 months is simply phenomenal.
Yeah, just phenomenal what they have done here. There's been 600 people here working every day since the end of May, and they've done a fantastic job in transforming this place. The racetrack has been here a long, long time. It's in a city park. It's always been a great racetrack, but now it's way, way better. The infrastructure has been completely redone here. Grandstand seats for 120,000, and the racetrack itself, it's always been conducive to good motor racing, but now it's even better. The surface has been completely redone, and it is going to produce a great motor race.
We don't have much time left, but I need to show you something quickly. Take a look at this. This is something you've never seen in motor racing or baseball. The racetrack goes between the grandstands in a baseball stadium here. That was purpose-built about 11 years ago with a racetrack in mind. Jeremy Shaw, that's something unique.
Yeah, it certainly is. It just creates a tremendous atmosphere here, and when this race gets underway, everybody in this stadium is going to be on their feet. It is going to be fun.
You'll hear us talking a lot today about the race for $500,000. That's the race for runners-up in this championship. Bruno Junqueira, Dario Franchitti and Patrick Carpentier all have a chance of getting that $500,000. Keep your eye on it. It should be a good one.
Well, it should very much be a good one. Here's the confirmation of those positions. Cristiano Di Matta there on pole, Bruno Junqueira, Patrick Carpenter, Dario Franchitti, Christian Fittipaldi, Michel Jourdain, Paul Tracy, Kenny Brack, Tony Kanaan, Scott Dixon, Adrian Fernandez, Tora Takagi, Shinji Nakano. Paul, what do you think that we can expect from the race today?
A lot of enthusiasm from the Mexicans. It'll be a phenomenal crowd. Mexicans love their motor racing.
Okay, well, as I understand, we've got to go back to our commentators now over there in Mexico City. We'll join again Jeremy Shaw and Lee Diffie.
Well, it's going to be an exciting day, an extraordinary day, and there is going to be so much to talk about. And it's just terrific how the Mexico City fans and the people from this city have embraced this race, that's for sure. Well, plenty of good news, and we've got Bobby Rahal, a team principal of Rahal Racing, with us right now. Bobby, firstly, congratulations. We hear that you have done a deal with Gigante to keep Michel Jourdain on for the next 2 years. Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a big day for us. I mean, just being here in Mexico City for this first race, what a fantastic job they've done here, and unbelievable crowd. But then to cap that off with the announcement of the 2-year extension, for us, it's at a great time, and we're excited about it, obviously, and can't wait to get going.
Now, Bobby, this is Jeremy Shaw. There's a lot of good news coming out of this weekend. We've had the Rocket Sports team. They're coming into the series. You're announced at least with one car for next year. Things are beginning to look up, aren't they?
Well, I think so. You know, it's you know, the economy is not helping matters any, and everybody's being very careful in the decisions they make. But it's coming. You know, on our Toyota Atlantic program, we just signed a new major sponsor, which we'll be announcing in about 3 weeks' time, and that came from a totally different industry. So it's starting to happen. And when you see events like this, you can see why it's really a tremendous event.
Bobby, thanks for your time. Best of luck for your two drivers today.
Thank you.
We'll keep an eye on how Michel Jourdain Jr. progresses today in his home race. Let's have a look at how they will line up, though, for the Telmex-Gigante Grand Prix, the 19th and final round. Brazilian Bruno Junqueira on pole for the 4th time this year, and that gives him a big advantage in trying to wrap up that runners-up spot. Christian Fittipaldi in his farewell drive in his kart career, great in second. That's his best start since mid-Ohio. Back on row 2, Dario Franchitti starts from position 3 and was absolutely livid that kart officials did not stop qualifying yesterday when he crashed due to an oil slick from his teammate Paul Tracy's car. And Canaan, that's the 4th time in the last 4 races he started in the top 4.
Back on row 3 of the grid, Jimmy Vasser. He was a winner last time out at Fontana. He's going to be celebrating his 37th birthday on Wednesday. Alongside him, Kenny Brack, still looking for his first win of the year. Back on row 4, 2 Canadian drivers, Patrick Carpentier and Paul Tracy. These two are going to be teammates next year, is what we believe.
We go back and have about this, row 5, Mario Dominguez. Yes, Mario Dominguez, that's a career best start, and he's done it right here in front of his home crowd. And Michael Andretti in his 309th and final start in Champ Cars. It's quite an emotional day today for Michael. Back to row 6, Tora Takagi. Now that position doesn't really tell you how quick that he has been. He's been quite consistently fast this weekend, and right alongside the champion, Cristiano Damata, in his worst grid position of the year. Back
on row 7 of the grid, Shinji Nakano. He's been struggling a bit all weekend with the setup of that Fernandez racing car. Understeer has been the complaint. Alex Tagliani, he's had a bunch of problems as well, but he was fairly quick in the warm-up this morning. Back on row 8 of the grid, Scott Dixon. Well, he's been struggling all weekend. Got a brand new setup for the race. Oriol Serbia, another struggler. He ran the fastest straight line speed this morning, over 202 miles an hour. Back to row 9, Michel Jourdain Jr. had some problems in qualifying and almost blew an engine yesterday. He starts alongside the 20-year-old German, the rookie Andre Lotterer, starting in the number 19 machine. The car for Dale Coyne Racing, the same one Darren Manning drove at Rockingham. And we go back to the 10th row, and Luis Diaz, the young Mexican who is filling in for the injured Adrian Fernandez. And, well, let's hope today he can give the Mexicans something to cheer about. Yeah, he was a bit unlucky yesterday. He had to switch to the backup car midway through that final qualifying session. There was a gear shift problem on the primary car, and he was out there towards the end, and there were a couple of red flags right at the end. He had a lap going that would have been good enough for 10th or 12th on the grid. Because of the red flag, it didn't count, Lee.
Let's take a look at this 2.7-mile circuit. It is something special.
It's a great racetrack. A big, long front straightaway, about 3/4 of a mile long, well over 1.5 kilometers, and it's a great overtaking opportunity into turn 1. Several more overtaking opportunities on this course, certainly down at turn 14, but that section from 6 through 13, right, left, right, left, right, left, a real rhythm section of the track, and then we go through 14, 15 and 16. That, believe it or not, goes through the middle of a baseball stadium with 30,000 people in that section of the track alone. A great racetrack here in Mexico City.
We are going to be going green this time by, and keep your eyes on our pole man, Bruno Junqueira. Look back to 3rd for Dario Franchitti, and 7th, the players Forsyth Ford of Patrick Carpentier. Those guys have got $500,000 on the line right here today. It should be a fabulous race. The track always puts on good racing. They're coming through turn 16, the amended part of the circuit as they come out of the baseball stadium. They've already put their foot down. Here we go. And Jim Swintel, yeah, the green is there. Emerson Fittipaldi throws it. And we are away with the Telmex-Gigante Grand Prix down this enormous 1.25 kilometre long main straight down into turn 1. We've had some incidents here over the weekend, but it's Canaan on the inside. Canaan got away to a great start. Junqueira's off, and so too is Vasser.
Great stuff there. We knew this track was going to provide some excitement. Look at that. There's Paul Tracy is off as well. That's all at turn 1. It looked like that Tony Kanaan got a great run off turn 2. Is he going to make a run down to turn 4 on the inside?
Well, it wasn't Junqueira that went off Bruno. Now Bruno goes off. Look at this. He's all over the place and runs wide. Now Canaan does take the lead for real. And it's Fittipaldi on the inside, then back to Franchitti. And it looks like Kenny Brack that's up there. Wow, what an action-packed start.
That must have been Kenny Brack that went off there at the first corner. That's a shame. The yellow flags are around there. All sorts of excitement. And we haven't yet even completed a whole half a lap. So great stuff there. Looks like Tony Kanaan has got the lead. It's been interesting to see all weekend long. The Hondas have been very fast on the straight. They've been going around about 200 miles. And look at that. There's another look at the start again. It looks like Tracy and Vasser got together there. I think they definitely got together turning into the corner. There is Tracy going back across the gravel trap, and Jimmy Vasser spinning around as well. That's the 5th time at least this year that Jimmy Vasser has been involved in a first corner accident.
And that caps off a pretty unhappy weekend for Paul Tracy. There's Bruno Junqueira running wide and regains just behind it. Looked like Michael Andretti there. But Tony Kanaan in the Pioneer Worldcom Monon Racing Honda in his farewell drive in Champ Cars also leads this race. The last time we saw Tony out in front. was on the streets of Miami. Oh, look at this. Tracy has just nailed Jimmy Vasser.
Was it? Yeah, it was Tracy, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Tracy. He came from miles back. I mean, that's a very, a poor move there from Paul Tracy. And he's desperately trying now to get the Simple Green safety team to get him back underway again before the leaders come around. They're on the main straight. They're approaching where Paul Tracy is here. This camera is looking from turn 1, which is where Tracy is in that gravel trap. And he's trying to get himself back on the racetrack so he doesn't lose a lap.
Two huge movers on that opening lap. There's Michel Jourdain Jr. He must have had some troubles as he exits pit lane. Two huge movers on that first lap is Lotterer and Diaz. They've come from the bottom of the field. Lotterer is up to 13th, Diaz is up to 14th. You're riding with Michel Jourdain Jr., the local driver. The fan support for this young guy has been amazing this weekend in the Gigante Ford. Now here's Luis Diaz that's got a problem. And the day is done for Luis.
Looks like a fairly major technical problem there on that car. He's exiting stage left pretty rapidly. What a disappointment for Lewis. He's done a pretty good job this weekend, in actual fact. He didn't qualify well. He qualified right at the back of the pack, but that's not representative of the pace that this young Mexican showed during the weekend. He really did a very good job indeed. He's 24 years old. He won a couple of races in the Kart Toyota Atlantic Championship this year for Doricott Racing. Here's an onboard shot of Lewis coming down towards turn 1 under the yellow, and he's coming underneath the bridge. Let's listen here. Maybe we can hear something on this car. It seems okay there, doesn't it? Now he knows something is wrong and he pulls off there to the outside of the racetrack.
Look at the fans. Look at the packed grandstands here off to the left there, and an unfortunate way for Luis Diaz in his champ car debut, and the hardship that team has faced over the last little while with Adrian Fernandez, problems with injury, and now this in a very big day for the Fernandez Racing organisation, and a sad way to see Luis Diaz go out. Fairly disappointing stuff.
Yeah, certainly is, and there's a massive crowd on hand here. There's 117,000 permanent seats here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. This is named in memory of the brothers Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez, way back from the 60s and 70s. Tremendous, legendary names, really, in the whole sport of motor racing, and particularly here in Mexico City. And their legacy has been carried forward by a whole bunch of Mexican drivers, and particularly the 3 that are now competing in the kart race this weekend, not including, of course, Adrian Fernandez, who is on the sidelines. But Diaz, he had done a good job all weekend, and it's such a disappointment. Virtually every seat is taken in this house, and there's a lot of people in the infield as well. There's well over 150,000 people here this weekend, and an electric atmosphere.
3 drivers came in on that once the caution went out. Scott Dixon, Michel Jourdain Jr. and Oriol Servia came in. It looked like Jimmy Vasser came in as well, so 4 drivers came in, and we had a report from the Gigante pit. There's Adrian Fernandez. A disappointing day, to say the least. He still has 1 driver in the race with Shinji Nakano, but he was hoping for big things from the 51 car, his car, and unfortunately for Adrian and Tom Anderson and the Fernandez team, it is not going to happen. Report from the Gigante team that Jourdain just topped off with fuel, no problems there with the number 9 machine. Paul Tracy is in, so he was able to get going and dragged out of that trap.
Yeah, but not before losing a lap. So Paul and Jimmy are both 1 lap down. We can see Paul Tracy's team there going to win. They're changing the cars, they're changing the nose cone on that car as well. Jimmy Vasser, we might see a flash of his car coming past in the foreground there. That literally was a flash, wasn't it? But that was Jimmy Vasser's car rejoining the race. The bad news is, I think Jimmy is, maybe he is on the lead lap after all. So I think maybe he did get out there, get out and around. So he is on the lead lap at the back of the pack. Paul Tracy, though, I'm pretty sure is 1 lap down on the field.
They strap on a new front assembly there, whole front wing, whole nose cone, and it's got, this looks like some spares from Dario's car, the blue front wing assembly there. So we're still under caution here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and something that we haven't touched on yet in the race is the very special section right here now. They're weaving through this section where there's 8 different turns left and right. It's this huge continuation there. A lot of G-forces loaded on the cars and the drivers through that section. And they really have to get that right. That's very tricky. As they come out here, they head down towards turn 14 after they exit this turn 13 right here where they are now. And they go in between a baseball stadium. You'll see it very soon. and they have purposely built this baseball stadium with a split in the grandstands where the track goes straight through. It's quite extraordinary, Jeremy.
It is absolutely amazing, and it's absolutely packed now as well. A great atmosphere down there. There's the car of Dario Franchitti. He's running in third place. Behind Franchitti is Kenny Brack. Behind Kenny Brack is Patrick Carponche and Michael Andretti. And then in seventh place now is Mario Domingos in the Herdez car. So that's going to keep these Mexicans here pretty happy. He's done a good job all weekend. As Lee said early on, a career best qualifying, 9th for this race. And I think we're getting ready to go back to green now.
It's the baseball stadium section. You can tell it by the concrete. That's the only change in surface. As we start to build back up to speed, Tony Kanaan will see the green this time now out of turn 16. He begins this long stretch down the main straight, and we are back under racing. Kanaan leads Fittipaldi back to Franchitti and Kenny Brack. Gained several positions in that first lap skirmish. But let's see what Kanaan can do now that he has his nose in front. He enjoyed the lead for quite some time in Miami until he and Scott Dixon tangled in turn 1. And Tony would love to leave the Kart FedEx Championship Series with a victory.
You certainly would, and so would team owner Maurice Nunn. He's worked so hard to get a race win as a team owner. He's had a lot of wins, of course, as a race engineer with Target Chip Ganassi Racing, but since he started up that organisation, he is winless. And Tony Kanaan would love, as you say, would love nothing more than to win the race here this weekend.
You may notice that Kanaan is displaying a new helmet design as well, and if you check out Fittipaldi, and also when you get a shot of D'Amata, what they've done, the three Brazilian mates, in their all farewell drives, because they're all splitting off to different areas. Kanaan's off to IRL, Fittipaldi's off to NASCAR, and D'Amata, as we now know, is off to Toyota Formula One. What they've done is they've split their helmet into thirds, and they've got their own helmet design in the front third, and in the two rear thirds, they've got part of their mate's helmet. So Kanaan's got his design at the front, and he's got part of Fittipaldi's and part of D'Amata's, and then the same for all three. And they just kind of came up with this idea a little while ago, and it looks good.
It does. It's really cool, isn't it? You can see there was a flash there. They're coming down. This is the old Peraltada corner here. Any of you racing historians will know what this track was like before they put that baseball section in. There was a flat-out, long, looping 180-degree right-hander to bring them right here onto this massive start-finish straightaway. What they've done with that baseball stadium, it cuts to right and sharp left and then sharp right again, halfway around to rejoin the Peraltada. And there was that change of surface there from concrete through the stadium area onto the asphalt. And it's a very tricky transition. The cars have to go over there.
Sadly for the Mexican fans and Fernandez Racing, we've just seen the exit of young Luis Diaz in the 51 car. We now have team owner and the regular driver of that car, Adrian Fernandez, with us. Adrian, that's a disappointing way to start the day.
Absolutely. We were hoping to have a good run for Luis this day, and unfortunately, second time in a row we have problems with the engine, and it's very disappointing. I mean, this year has been extremely difficult for us, and we just cannot get our luck, our side of the luck back, and we just have to, be strong. We have a lot of faith that next year things will change, and for us, and we have a team that can win. Unfortunately, the luck hasn't been in our side, from accidents, from engines, from mishaps, from technical side and things like that. But we're ready to come back strong next year and hope to do better.
You're right, Adrian. This is Jeremy Shaw up here in the booth, and you started off the year so promising with that pole in Monterey, and I know how hard you've worked to make this event here a reality in Mexico City, and you've got to be so proud of this fantastic event here.
Absolutely. I'm so proud of the racetrack, of the atmosphere, the whole thing. They've done a terrific job, and I'm very, very proud of our country, and this is a race that will stay for a long time.
Adrian, thanks for your time. We'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
Adrian Fernandez there, and we're now very pleased to say we're joined in the booth by Mimo Gidley. Mimo, good to see you again. What are your thoughts on this venue? It's superb.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've walked around a lot. I've been around the pace car. I've been all the way to the other side, the go-kart track, and seen the people in the infield. And the spirit is the biggest thing that sets us apart from any other race. I think the people are just really excited. They're happy to be here, no matter where they came from or where they live or what they're doing. They're happy to be here now, and they show it.
It's a 73-lap race today, and the pit window, the pit interval, is every 20 laps. We're now on lap 6, 5 laps out of the way already. You're looking at third place Dario Franchitti in his final kart drive as well for Team Cool Green. And Dario is in the middle of that scrap for second in the championship. Could he repeat what he did in 1999?
And certainly with Junqueira back in the pack now. Junqueira is back in 9th place right now, and with Dario Franchitti in 2nd place, that's going to do Dario's attempts to get up into that 2nd place overall in the championship a lot of good too. And that the Honda engine has been good, strong here all weekend. I think generally speaking, the Hondas have been the quickest cars at the end of the main straight, and that definitely is the best place to pass here at this track in Mexico City. So if you've got good straight line speed and can take advantage of it, then you're looking good. And I think Dario Franchitti probably now biding his time a little bit at the early stages of the race. I think also now it's a lot warmer than it was the rest of the weekend. Perfect conditions right now. It's a lot hotter. The sun is beating down, and for most of the weekend it's been fairly cloudy here, and it's going to be interesting to see how these Bridgestone Potenza tyres wear as this event goes on. A few teams were telling me after the warm-up this morning they thought that tyre wear could be a bit of a factor here as this race progresses.
A very, very frustrated and pretty angry Paul Tracy is funneling that anger in the right avenues. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:28.8 for Paul Tracy, but he is a lap down, back in 18th place, and the last car running in this field. You're looking at the Jerez competition, Ford of Mario Dominguez, a native of Mexico City here, and a huge weekend for this young guy. And he is having his best run. We know that he won that bizarre race at Service Paradise, but in a genuine, real race, so you should say, he's having his best run of the year, Mimo, in 7th.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. I've known Mario for about 10 years since he first went to the driving school, and I was a mechanic there. And, you know, it takes some time. A lot of guys like Adrian, you know, it took them a while to kind of come into their own. And I think Mario's, he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got a good demeanor. And I think with the right amount of time, he's just going to get better and better.
I agree with you, mate. It's particularly tough right now, I think, being not only being a rookie driver, but in a one-car team as well, because you don't have any data to draw from a teammate. And particularly now, as this kart series has developed the last couple of years, when the testing, a big restriction amount of testing you can do, not a lot of data to draw from.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been with a couple of teams that have hired me on just for my experience setting up the car. And when you're new, you just don't know. You go to a new track, you're not sure if you're feeling the right things, if the car's understeering or where you're losing time. So it's always nice to have a teammate to kind of push you on and help you with setup.
Cristiano De Matta in the Haviland Newman Haas Toyota. Here he is, the champion of 2002, and as we mentioned earlier in the show, it was announced since we were with you last at Fontana that he is officially a Toyota Formula One driver. He will join Frenchman Olivier Panis in the Toyota Formula One project next year, and he's a very busy guy because he's off straight away to testing pretty soon after this event. He's going to get into the car later this month, and said he's already met with his new teammate Olivier Panis, and he's looking very much forward to teaming up with them and getting his teeth into the world of Formula One next year.
It's interesting this weekend that Cristiano has been struggling. He had a good lap going yesterday in qualifying that would have been a lot better than he eventually was on the grid. He was back in 11th place on the grid, but he had a lap probably good enough for the top 5 or 6, he was telling me this morning, but that came to naught because of a red flag at the end of the session. There's no doubt about it. He has struggled this weekend, and interestingly, he also struggled in the other high altitude racetrack where we were at Denver a month or so ago, and there's no similarities really between these two racetracks other than the elevation. Denver, the mile high city, is about 5,500 feet above sea level. Here we're over 8,000 feet above sea level, so you lose a lot of downforce from these cars because of that. But it's interesting in that both of those locations, Newman Haas Racing, or particularly Cristiano De Matta, seems to be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, it's surprising. I don't know what the altitude, how it affects you know, the setup. I wouldn't assume too much. I would think that he would be a lot better here because the track is full of a lot of sweepers and combination corners, and it's very wide. And it seems like the Newman Haas team has really put together a good car for a track that has characteristics like that. So it was surprising, but you know, the grid is so tight that if you miss it a little or you get a red flag when your tires are at their optimal temperature or pressure, then you're back a little ways, and sometimes that's what happens to guys.
Kenny Brack on track, currently running 4th, and he has a fairly healthy margin, as you can see there, over Patrick Carpentier. No immediate pressure there, and Michael Andretti right with Patrick Carpentier now, and Mario Dominguez, a fair amount of ground to catch up to Michael Andretti.
In the meantime, Paul Tracy is still at the back of the field. Of course, he is a lap down as well, so he's not really a factor in this race. But he set another fastest lap. Each of the last 5 laps, Paul Tracy has been quicker than everybody else. 28.5 last time around, 1 minute 28.5 his lap time. This time the race leader, Tony Kanaan, 1 minute 29.2. And he's been very consistent at that the last 4 or 5 laps has Tony Kanaan. So Paul Tracy, a good half a second or so a lap quicker, but that first corner mistake cost him dearly.
Mario Dominguez knows that Takagi is all over him down into turn 1. You could see that Dominguez there was trying to break the draft, and Takagi has been creeping closer and closer, and Takagi's actually left Bruno Junqueira a little bit behind. There's no more immediate pressure there, so Takagi is running some good lap times at the moment and might be able to move past Dominguez up to 7th. Tura has made a real nice recovery from that pelvis injury he sustained in that horrific crash at Surfers Paradise several weeks ago. He was fairly stiff and sore, and in fact that's what caused that crash at Fontana a fortnight ago. But since then he's made a good recovery and he's been driving well all weekend.
You're right, at Fontana he was fine in the early part of the race, and then when he came off the banking, made the transition off the banking onto the flat to come into the pit lane, he got a big jolt on his pelvic area, and it really hurt him. He had to jump off the brakes, and when he got back on him again he locked him up, and that's what caused him to hit the wall and put him out of the race. But you're right, he's done a great job this weekend. He was, I think, second quick in the warm-up this morning. He's been up at the sharp end all weekend, and unfortunately, however, he didn't make it pay in either of the qualifying sessions. On Friday qualifying session, he actually over-revved the engine a couple of times early in the session, and Toyota finally said, that's enough, we don't want you to blow up the engine. We put too many revs on it and we're going to park it. They took away his toys, and he couldn't take part in the latter part of that session, and yesterday afternoon he was unlucky as well with the red flag, so he hasn't shown what he's capable of, and right now at the moment he's running in 8th place and he's trying to get past Mario Dominguez.
You're looking at the guys up front, Tony Kanaan, Christian Fittipaldi and Dario Franchitti, and it's great to see Kanaan and Fittipaldi up front. It's not something that we've seen a great deal of this year, and Fittipaldi is having a very strong weekend this weekend, his farewell weekend in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Kanaan still leads the way. Mimo Gidley, Fittipaldi has been very consistent this weekend. He was unlucky not to get the provisional pole on Friday, and it's one of the strongest overall weekends I think he's put together this season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, actually somebody asked me who I thought would win, and I definitely thought Christian had a good shot because I know the car is good, and he obviously knows how to pedal the thing around. And it's interesting, you watch the guys up front right now. This track has got long duration corners, almost like an oval, and you really rely on the handling of the car as the tires go off. And you can see his car, even though they have some time on the tires right now, is very responsive. And I think I wouldn't say he's being held up, but I think he could probably run quicker if he was in first right now. It's just a matter of getting there.
Pit window is now open on lap 13. They can make that first mandatory stop now if they wish. And that will get them all the way home. A 73-lap race. That'll work out nicely with this 3-stop race. Every 20 laps you must stop. You're looking at the guys up front now. Kanaan in the Monan Racing Honda, the Toyota. For Newman Haas, the Lily car of Christian Fittipaldi, and the Team Cool Green Honda of Dario Franchitti. Dario's, considering what happened yesterday, was a fairly strong crash. And, Dario wasn't injured. He's bounced back from that nicely. Gee, he was furious yesterday though, huh, Jeremy?
Yeah, he was. He was not very happy at all at the end of that session. But as Paul Tracy told us, the yellow flags were waving when Dario went off the road. So you can read into that what you will.
Jimmy Vasser has just come in for his first stop and has left the pits again. In fact, he has been in for 3 stops already today, but that was the first one as far as the fuel is concerned. The Gigante Telmex Grand Prix here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. The season finale in the 2002 Kart FedEx Championship Series continues, and Kanaan is enjoying himself out front. since Fontana has been home and competed in that endurance go-kart event, Mimo, with fellow Brazilians Rubens Barrichello and Felipe Massa. They won. They did very well.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I haven't, that's a long way away from California, so I haven't heard a lot about it, but, it's always great to get out and get back in the go-karts because it's racing at its purest, I would say, and it's a lot of fun to be out there and it's competitive, so.
Here they come. The pit window is now open and they can make that first mandatory stop here, and with this 3-stop race it will get them all the way home in this 73-lap event. That's Alex Tagliani making his first stop. And rumours around that we may see Alex in the Newman Haas car next year.
That's what he's telling you. We heard yesterday that Paul Gentilozzi of Rocket Sports Racing, a long-time sports car competitor, Paul Gentilozzi himself won 3 Trans Am titles with his own team, also won in GTS and GTO competition, and he announced yesterday that he will be taking Rocket Sports Racing into kart for the 2003 season. So that's good news for this championship. And there's a lot of teams are trying to put something together, brand new teams looking to get into this series for next season. I think they all see a lot of opportunity, and judging by this crowd and the event here in Mexico City, I think that's absolutely why this is taking place. And a lot of positive movement for the kart series. It's looking very, very good indeed for 2003.
Right, something else I heard as far as that too, Jeremy, was that Tagliani's manager was seen earlier today speaking with Stefan Johansson, who is trying very, very hard to put a team together, whether it be 1 car or 2 next year. So there's lots going on. How are you going, Mimo Gidley, as far as getting a ride?
Well, it looks good. I mean, it looks like there's some things going on. I would say I have more kind of prospective sort of deals happening now, or possible deals, than in years past, but it's just really hard to say. So I'm hopeful.
And that is Mario Dominguez. And there's something desperately wrong with the left-hand side of the car, the left rear, whether he has clouded the wall or... Whoa!
Oh, he's had a problem there on the straightaway. Something's broken on the straight there, and you can just see him pulling off there. Looks like a major problem with the left rear of that car. The left rear has dropped down, and that spells the end of the day, I think, for Mario Dominguez. He's going to try and get back to the pits, but by the time he gets all the way around, he's going to be a long, long, long way behind. And that looked certainly like a problem occurred on the main straight there. You couldn't have hit anything on the main straight, so looks like something let go on that Lola chassis. That's very, very unusual.
Creeping closer and closer to that first round of stops. Top 3, Canaan, Fittipaldi, Franchitti. This is where they come out of the baseball stadium and back on into turn 16. And reports that Dominguez had a flat left rear. We'll find out more on that for you soon, but tough stuff. And if that indeed puts Mario Dominguez out of the race, that's 2 of the 3 Mexicans that started this race are gone. Luis Diaz was the first casualty, retiring the 51 car right at the beginning of this race on the opening lap. And now Mario Dominguez has fallen into trouble after starting in his career best grid position and running strongly in the top 10 in 7th. Position is now handed over to Tora Takagi.
That's not a great place to have a left rear suspension go down. What happens when the suspension breaks, or that happens, the car teeters on 3 wheels, and that's obviously a high-speed straightaway going into a braking zone, and you really can't slow it down. So he did a pretty good job of keeping the thing from swapping ends and getting back on the road, and hopefully to the pits.
Canaan has extended his margin over Fittipaldi just marginally. It got as low as 0.6 of a second. You can see Dominguez there limping back to the pits very, very slowly, understandably. But now this margin between Canaan and Fittipaldi is stretching closer to the 1.5 second mark as they come through a couple of pretty stiff transitions there from the asphalt to the concrete and then back onto the asphalt. It's not as smooth as I thought here. There's quite a few bumps around the place.
Yeah, you can see the bumps a lot on the transitions and the braking zones, but even in like the S turns, after turn 1, that area over there, literally the right front or the left front, the inside front tire bounces off the ground, so it's pretty bumpy out there.
Yeah, it always was bumpy, this racetrack. They've relayed the asphalt all the way around. They've taken down the surface somewhat and resurfaced the whole thing. Here's Mario Dominguez coming into his pit. but they're going to change the tyres first of all, and then they'll have a look at that left rear and find out really what is wrong with it. I don't think it was just a puncture though. I think it was something a lot more substantial than that, and you can see there doesn't seem to be much urgency at the back of the car. So I think clearly probably most likely a terminal problem for Mario Dominguez. A great shame. That's two of the Mexicans looks like out of this race, and Michel Jourdain Jr. after those early stops and starting in the back, he's a long way back out of the action as well. So big disappointment, but there's still a good race going on in the front. There's Tony Kanaan, edged away just a little bit. He did put in a couple of laps down underneath the 1:29 bracket there, and you can see he's edged away a little bit from Christian Fittipaldi in second place. He's still though lapping very, very consistently, apparently well within himself. It's Tony Kanaan out in the lead. You can see there's the second and third place cars behind him. So we've got a Honda Lola in the lead, Tony Kanaan, the Toyota Lola in second place, Christian Fittipaldi, and a Honda Lola in third place, Dario Franchitti.
And that is it. The day is done for Mario Dominguez, and that's disappointing for the young Mexican. And he waves to his fans and says thank you very much for your loyal support throughout the 2002 season, and I wanted to perform for you today, but it just hasn't happened. Mimo, I mean, say for instance if that tyre went down at a crucial point here, can that flat court then cause the suspension to go out of whack and break? Or
it can if you see the tires start to come apart and actually the rubber that's flying off or hanging on by threads, if that rips the suspension. But it was pretty clear that the tire was up, and you know, I'm surprised. There must be something pretty serious, because I would think that they would have tried to fix it and send him out just to, you know, kind of for the fans, but it must be some sort of a rocker arm or something like that. A broken rocker, yeah, it's possible.
Getting close now. Tony Kanaan will be coming in the next lap and a half to complete his first mandatory pit stop in this three-stop race here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. We're just outside the downtown section of Mexico City, very close to the international airport. And there is Mexico's Mario Dominguez. He will take out the Rookie of the Year title. It did take him quite some time to get on top. Townsend Bell held that for the majority of the year. Townsend's here, incidentally, this weekend, as quite a few drivers are. Mimo Gidley is here with us. Roberto Moreno will join us later. Who else have you seen this weekend, Jeremy, floating around?
Well, there's all sorts of people here this weekend. We've seen Darren Manning here. We've seen Ricardo Zonta, former sports car world champion and this year's Telefonica Nissan champion in Europe. He's looking to get a ride in this series. And yeah, there's no shortage of drivers looking for a ride in this series.
The updated FedEx running order at the top of your screen, and it's this man who's done it virtually right from the beginning, where we had that hiccup, and Bruno Junqueira will feel very frustrated. That was a pretty awkward moment. I know that you saw it. You weren't on air with us, but you were back in the commentary booth. You saw it. What did you make of that Junqueira mistake?
Well, you know, it certainly appeared when he got into turn one, Tony got on the inside of him and he tried to brake pretty late and actually slid a little wide, and there's an access road down there. And he actually lost a few positions, used the access road, and it looked like he came back on in second at that point. And I think he might have even then passed Kanaan back, thinking that, no, that's actually my position. You know, you didn't deserve that pass or something like that. And Tony sort of got him again, put the pressure on him, and then Bruno ran wide and really did lose like 4, 5, or 6 positions at that point.
And these curbs are actually quite tall. It looked like he hit one of them quite hard and at an awkward angle, and that then sent him off to the outside of the track.
Yeah, if you hit one on the inside, they're so steep that it definitely unloads the car and will send you wide into the marbles.
All right, here we go. First set of pit stops coming up.
Yeah, this is lap 20. This is the end of the pit stop window. You have to make your first pit stop by lap 20. Tony Kanaan, he'll be coming in right now. Jimmy Vasser, we saw him come into the pits a few laps ago, and he has set a couple of fastest laps of the race since he came in to take on fresh tires. Here, though, all the leaders onto pit lane. Tony Kanaan, Christian Fittipaldi, Dario Franchitti. They are the first three. Here they are, routine service.
The Team Cool Green outfit for Dario Franchitti may have some extra work to have a look at the rear of the car, because the kart spotters around the circuit made some reports to race control that there was some signs of some spray coming from the rear of Franchitti's car. We'll see if we can find out more about that later, but it hasn't stopped Dario. Fairly quick stop in and out. That's one of 3 completely done.
It looked like Christian was on a pretty good pit stop, and they had a little problem with the fuel coming out, and that was definitely, they were so close, that was definitely an exercise in pit stops there, and a position could have been gained, I would say then.
Pit shuffle on screen will tell you who's moved positions. and everyone has stayed the same as per when they came into pit lane. There's Bruno Junqueira, currently back down in 6th, and with some work to do. Keep in mind, we'll focus as the race gets older on 2 particular battles for the championship, and there's a lot of money on the line. There's $500,000 up for whoever can finish in the 2nd place in the championship. That guy on screen, Bruno Junqueira, holds a 5-point margin at the moment over Patrick Carpentier. Then Dario Franchitti is 12 points behind Junqueira.
Hello there, welcome back. Well, we'll be joining the action again in Mexico City in just a few minutes. But first, just a quick chat with our guests. They are Paul Cherry and Christian Colby joining us this evening. Paul, what's your thoughts on the race so far? Interesting start. Pace is reasonably good. I'll be interested to see halfway how people are performing, because one thing we haven't mentioned yet is it's nearly 8,000 feet above sea level, and the air's a lot thinner with the humidity and the heat. Drivers might be feeling more fatigued than normal. It'll be interesting to see. What do you think, Christian?
I agree, fatigue is going to be a big factor. You saw a sequence of about 4 bends that looked like the 3rd, 4th gear corners where the driver's going to be pulling a lot of G's. Also, there's a couple of rookies, notably Andre Lotto, who's running 11th, doing a really good job, but he's going to be feeling the strain coming halfway, and it'll be interesting to see how he copes with it. It's quite a bumpy track out there as well. You can really see the cars. It's always been a bumpy track, as far as I can remember, going back into Formula 1 in the 80s. There's a lot of subsidence under the track, but they have dug up everything and relaid it. So it's bumpy, but it's not big bumps. It's well capable of these cars. Now, what about Dario Franchitti in this race? Obviously his last race in kart before he goes to IRL. Looks like he dropped back to 4th there. They seem to think there might have been a problem with the car. Did you notice anything? Didn't look like it. He seemed to be making reasonable pace. The lap times seemed to show he was right on it. The interesting thing is all that group that are looking for the 2nd place are right together, and there's not a point between them, so it's going to be an interesting finish there. Okay, Paul and Christian for the moment, thank you very much. We'll rejoin the action back in Mexico City.
23 laps down, 50 laps to go here in Mexico City, the 19th and final race of the year in the Kart FedEx Championship Series. It's this guy's last race in a champ car. 309 starts Michael Andretti has made, and he bids farewell to all of the Kart family later this afternoon. Canaan still leads, but there's less than a second in it. Lovely to see a special presentation earlier today, guys, that Chris Pook, the CEO and president of Kart, and a whole host of dignitaries from here in Mexico City involved with the circuit. A special presentation to Michael for his services to Champ Cars and to Kart over the past 19 years. A phenomenal, this guy, you know, what this guy's done for American open wheeler racing, for motorsport in general, and they just wanted to say a special thank you.
Yeah, that's nice to do. I mean, that's a class act for sure. I mean, it's you know, Mario and the whole Andretti. I mean, they've done a lot. I mean, it's great to bring that kind of exposure to racing, because you know, these guys, they get into it and they have a lot of support, but it helps other guys that maybe don't have the name and everything else just to get in there, because it brings the exposure. So you got to be thankful for what Michael has done and what Mario has done by being at these races and supporting the series.
Andre Lotterer now has the fastest lap of the race, a 1:27.6 to the 20-year-old German. Former British and German F3 driver, and did some testing duties for the Jaguar Formula 1 team. Could we see him in Champ Car racing next year? It is the intention of Kart. They are working very, very hard to have certainly a variety of nationalities represented. They would like to have a British driver in the car. Obviously, Dario Franchitti is off to the IRL next year, but they'd like to have a British driver to replace Dario. They'd like to have perhaps a Portuguese driver, a German driver, an Australian driver. So they're looking for that variety. So Andre Lotterer may find himself here in the Kart Series next year.
Hopefully a Mexican-American too.
Yeah, but with the name of Memo Giddy, that certainly would be good. Memo, you know, we've got to say you've worked so hard to get yourself involved in this championship.
25 laps down, 48 left to run here in the Gigante Telmex Grand Prix at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez here in Mexico City. You're looking at the 20-year-old German rookie. This is Andre Lotterer in the Dale Coyne Racing Ford Lola, the car that Darren Manning drove to that brilliant ninth at the Rockingham 500 earlier this year, and now Lotterer is doing a pretty nifty job himself. He's got the fastest lap of the race.
He did it on the last 2 laps, in fact. He did 1:27.677 2 laps ago, and then 7,000 quicker this time around. So a great effort by the 20-year-old German, and he might be at the back of the field. He lost a lot of time having been pulled back during that first pit stop, but that's all part of the learning curve, and he really is doing a very respectable job indeed.
Dario Franchitti still holds on to third, but he's some 2.5 seconds behind Christian Fittipaldi. He has a nice buffer, some 5 seconds over Kenny Brack, who still maintains his fourth, and it's Patrick Carpentier. You can check it out, the FedEx running order at the top of your screen. 6 is Andretti, 7 is Takagi, 8 is Junqueira, D'Amata, and Shinji Nakano now works his way into the top 10.
Dario's been running really fast since that last pit stop, and although he's a few seconds back, he's been closing in on Kanan and also on Christian. So I think if he's able to continue this up and close up or get a yellow and bunch it up, he's going to be right there with those top 3, and they'll be able to battle it out.
It's one of those years where you could say for Dario Franchitti, what if? He was plagued by so many problems, 8 DNFs. There were some crashes where it wasn't his fault. He was tangled up in it, like Laguna Seca in turn 1. There was a whole host of DNFs for mechanical reasons where the engine certainly let him down on a number of occasions. But he was right up there, and he could very well have been the 2002 kart champion. It wasn't to be. It's D'Amata's year, but it still has been a very strong one for Franchitti.
No doubt about that, and as you say, he's had a lot of mechanical problems, a couple of self-induced problems as well, perhaps, and arguably one yesterday as well in qualifying. He won't agree with that. He said the red flag should have come out to warn of that oil that had been laid down by his teammate, ironically, Paul Tracy, in that final session of qualifying yesterday. But Dario maybe should have seen those oil flags being waved down there. He said he didn't see them, but I know Paul Tracy was, well, he was already out of his car, and Paul told me that he was standing right next to the guy waving the yellow and red oil flag, and Dario, he elected to keep his foot in it, and he lost control and hit the wall. But Dario certainly was very, very outspoken in his criticism of kart for not throwing out the red flag at the end of the session because of that oil down on the racetrack. But there's a few people who might disagree with that, but the point is that Dario Franchitti is now running some very quick laps indeed. He has been edging a little bit closer to those first two, although in fact on the last lap, around lap 27, Tony Kanaan did respond. He was a little bit quicker than Dario last time around, and in the meantime Andre Lotterer was quicker than the both of them at the back of the field in 16th place.
If you've just joined us, welcome to Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez for the 19th and final round of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. It's a fabulous facility, and someone who raced here many years ago in Formula One, and we'd like to get his spin on what he thinks of this place. He's been doing some demonstration runs in the champion Audi that he's raced in the American Le Mans Series this year. We welcome Stefan Johansson. Hi Stefan, it's Lee Diffie here. Good to be back in Mexico City.
Absolutely, it's great. This is just a fantastic race here today.
Tell us about the differences. I mean, you've been out in the Audi. Differences from when you were here last in your Formula One days.
Well, the track is pretty much the same actually, apart from the last very fast corner they had before. The facility is completely different. This is a world-class facility now. It's absolutely fantastic.
Now, Stefan, this is Jeremy Shaw. We know you've been working very hard on trying to put a team together for next year. What can you tell us about your plans?
Well, my plans is to to have 2 cars there next year, and it's going forward. It's we're not there yet, but it's hopefully not too far away.
Stefan, we've got Mimo Gidley up here with us. He's still looking for a drive.
I think he'd like to ask you a question.
That's right. I've got my seat. I've got my helmet. All I need is the car.
Hey, we can always talk.
Well, great to see you here, Stefan, and we certainly hope to see you in the kart series in 2003.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Stefan Johansson there, folks, and just to take it further about the facility here, it's a joint venture between Jerry Forsyth, the owner of Players Racing, and also SIA, which is one of the biggest event promoters here in Mexico. And some $31 million US later, this is what we have. And as you heard Stefan Johansson say there, it's completely different to many years ago when Formula One raced here. The last F1 race was in 1992. It is now a world-class facility. These massive grandstands that flank the main straight and the paddock area, everything is terrific. The amenities for the fans is just superb. And this will be one that they will talk about for a long time and look forward to on an annual basis.
No doubt about it. I mean, generally speaking, there's some criticism of a new racetrack for whatever it may be, and yes, it is still fairly bumpy, this racetrack, but let me tell you, it's nothing, as Stefan will attest, it's nothing like as bumpy as it used to be 10 years ago when they last had a major international motor race here. But as you say, the rest of the infrastructure here really is sensational, and Ron Dixon's crew here working with the Jerry Forsyth's organization and SIA in Mexico must be applauded for doing an absolutely fabulous job. This section here, this is rhythm section of track, turn 6 through turn 13. You go left, you go right, you go left again, and you're building speed most of the way through this section. It's a very, very tricky section, right on the edge through here, and the corners are getting faster and faster.
That's a tough section. You can see that he's, at times, Paul was short shifting to try and get in the gear before the corner, and at times he was stretching it a little and kind of up towards the limiter. It's definitely, a rhythm section.
And Jimmy Vasser is really feeling the pressure. That's the second lockup within that one lap period. Let's see what Paul Tracy has for him this time as they come out into turn 16. This leads onto the main straight. We'll ride with Tracy as he pursues Jimmy Vasser. This is Honda Power versus Ford.
He's definitely got a run on him. There he goes to the inside, Paul Tracy. They're getting up now, up towards 200 miles an hour. Tracy has the inside line. This is a battle. It is not for position because Tracy has got past. He moved across there to take the optimum line through turn 1. This is, however, still not a battle for position. I must stress that because Paul Tracy is still one lap down, but still a great on-board footage from the Team Cool Green Lola Honda.
You could see the...
Oh, no. That's Lotterer. Sorry, Mimo.
That's all right.
Andre Lotterer, and where is that?
That's in the stadium section. No, it's not.
That's turn 1. Yeah, end of turn 1.
Yeah, I think he was probably trying to make the same move there then on Michel Jourdain Jr. I bet that's what happened. I bet he left his braking a little bit too late and into the escape road. But nothing ventured, nothing gained for this very impressive young German.
I was just going to say, you could see the difference when Paul came onto the straightaway. He was a car width on the inside, which means he had very good traction compared to Jimmy, and he got a run on him. And it wasn't really even a contest of motors at that point. It was just how quickly you could get on the power. And shoot, he was already past him and almost pulled back on line before the braking zone.
Now you saw that replay. Andre Lotterer thought about it on the inside and then thought twice and pulled out of that move. Michel Jourdain Jr. a little further down the order, he sits 15th, so he's out of the points at the moment. Remember, this guy has been so consistent this year. He's scored points in every single race except the last one at Fontana when he had an engine failure. He has completed the most laps. Here's another replay. Lotterer thinks about it. Whoops, no. I was going too fast and I ran out of road.
Yeah, good heads-up thinking, though, from Lotterer. At least he didn't run into the back of Jourdain, didn't do anything stupid, and he elected to take the safe way out and rejoin and try to find another day. So, lost quite a little bit of ground from that mistake, but at least he is back in the action.
A report on Alex Tagliani from Scott Dixon. They're fighting over 12th place, and Dixon is reporting that Tagliani's car is spreading quite a bit of oil. We'll keep our eye on that and give you more details when we find out. And for all of our viewers live on Sky in New Zealand, your man has had a reasonably troublesome weekend. It hasn't been the usual good run for Scott Dixon. He has been considerably off the pace for the majority of the weekend.
Yeah, he's been struggling, as you say, right throughout this event. And they've tried all sorts of different setups. They tried the same setup that Bruno Junqueira was using. They tried Kenny Brack's setup. That didn't work. And after this morning's practice warm-up session, they tried another setup on that car. And Dixon might be a little bit happier this afternoon. He's not able to find a way past Alex Tagliani. They're battling for 11th and 12th.
That's tough when you're at that point where you're just basically throwing darts against the dartboard and seeing what sticks. It's everybody else is fine-tuning their cars, and you're still trying to find something that suits your style where you can actually even drive it, which you think fast. So that makes it very difficult for a team like Target and Scott Dixon to be competitive, even if they did get a good setup now.
Tagliani is in, and the team will check this situation if indeed there are some problems with Tagliani's car. So Dixon now moves up into 11th. And they're sending him, so away goes the Canadian. As we said earlier, you just may see this guy in Newman Haas team colours in 2003. Further to that, rumour mill is pretty strong and fast at the moment. We heard earlier this weekend that you may see players fielding a 3-car team next year with Paul Tracy, Patrick Carpentier and Minardi Formula One driver Alex Young coming into the fold in a third player's car.
Well, third Forsyth Racing engine. I don't think it'll be a player's car, but they certainly are looking to run a third, at least a third, if not even a fourth car next season under the Forsyth Championship Racing banner. But meanwhile, we also heard this weekend that Players Forsyth Racing has in fact put down a deposit and is going to purchase 4 of Target Chip Ganassi Racing's Lolas. So it looks like Patrick Carpentier and Paul Tracy will be running Lola chassis for Players Forsyth next year. Having said that, I was told by one of the Forsyth teams that's not actually a done deal, that they will run those Lola chassis next year. I think they're going to try and do some back-to-back testing maybe in December before they make a final decision on that one.
Kart officials did check Tagliani's car and gave it the thumbs up. Everything is okay there. We are within 5 laps from the next round of pit stops. It'll be the second of 3. Canaan still leads the way by 1.5 seconds over Fittipaldi and Franchitti. Thinking about that Tagliani-Dixon situation must be very frustrating, and I mean it must annoy you quite a bit when you're behind someone that if indeed we've got the thumbs up on Tagliani, but when a car is letting oil go right in your on your helmet.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, these cars, if they do start leaking oil, there's a lot to come out, and it doesn't take much to cover your visor and actually start dripping on you while you're in the car, and that's definitely a distraction. You really have to try and look through that and you know, to try and hopefully get around the guy in front of you, but it doesn't make it any easier, that's for sure.
As they come on to complete another lap, we're 4 from the next round of stops. It's still Canaan, Fittipaldi, Franchitti, the 3 cars on screen. There's only 3.2 seconds covering first to third, so Franchitti is running very strong. Here is our champion, Cristiano D'Amato in the Haviland Newman Haas Toyota. D'Amato runs just inside the top 10 in 9th. Hasn't been the usual D'Amato weekend that we've become accustomed to. He's been a little off the pace as well, and has not been running anywhere near as strong as his teammate Christian Fittipaldi. There's Bruno Junqueira just ahead in 9th. Takagi runs 7th, Andretti is 6th, and Carpentier is still in 5th behind Kenny Brack.
Now, I'm surprised that both of these two aren't going better this afternoon race. We've seen Junqueira just going out of the picture. He qualified on the pole. He's been the man to beat really all weekend long. And this man, the series champion this year, Cristiano D'Amato, you know, they've worked again. They tried a slightly different setup. There's Carl Haas, the team owner there, as ever with that ever-present cigar chomping away there and watching his car number 1 out on the racetrack. But certainly 9th place is not what that team had in mind coming into this weekend.
So they'll keep chipping away. Nakano has done well to remain in the top 10. And then Dixon now has moved up to 11th, courtesy of that Tagliani pit stop. In front of a massive crowd here in Mexico City, the Gigante Telmex Grand Prix continues, and we are now just 3 laps away from the second round of stops. The top 11 or 12 cars all due to come in on lap 40. And we are now running lap 38, 37 in the books. And Tony Kanaan has led virtually from start to now. It's been a faultless race for the Brazilian, who only has 1 kart career victory, and that was all the way back in 1999. He would love to give Morris Nunn, his team owner and very good friend, his very first Champ Car victory. Mimo Gidley steps aside momentarily, and we'd like to welcome to the international booth Roberto Moreno. Roberto, great to see you again. How are things?
Great to see you here. I'm glad to be here. Things are picking up, not only on the kart side. A lot of momentum started to happen here. You see people announcing situations for next year, and my deal is starting to come together. After a long time waiting and just dedicating for a kart drive, it's starting to come together. I can't release exactly what's happening here, but I'm working very hard, and we're starting negotiations to close the deal.
And the good news is also, Roberto, you're going to be driving a car this week as well, finally. I mean, you've been sitting and watching these cars all season long, and you're going to finally get an opportunity to do a test. Ford Cosworth is doing the first of its on-track endurance tests with the 2003 version of the XF engine, and you're going to drive that car at Firebird.
Yes, and the kart is doing, this is a test organized by Cosworth and kart. And what they're doing is very good. They're getting me to do the development work initially, which is basically making sure the fuel management system works and the electronic works, get the best out of them. And then they're going to get some Atlantic drivers into it to do long distance runs, and which will give the young drivers an opportunity to get a feel for the kart cars. And I'll be coaching them, helping them throughout the test. And then maybe if there's any need on the engine development program, I'll jump in the car again for a few more laps in the second or third day, and then they'll continue the endurance run.
Looks like we'll see Fittipaldi come in this lap. His team was standing by, too short of lap 40. He may not run that full 20-lap distance since first stop to second stop. This will be a 3-stop race here in Mexico City. 73 laps. We have just 35 to go. And it's been these two Brazilians up front for the entire time, Canan and Fittipaldi. Been a very strong run from Tony today.
Indeed, both of those are Brazilian drivers, and here we go with Christian into the pits.
So it's 1 lap earlier than he needs to come into the pits for Christian Fittipaldi. That's an interesting strategy.
Well, sometimes you might have a little change you want to do in the car, so why stay there an extra lap so you can get the modification on the tire pressure, for example, a little earlier, and you get benefit from it 1 more lap out on the racetrack.
That's true, Roberto, and also particularly on this racetrack here, the tires get up to speed coming out of the pits very, very quickly indeed. Often when you come into a pit slightly earlier than somebody else, then you can actually lose ground in getting back up to speed again. But on this racetrack, the tires come in so fast that this might well work out possibly in his favor.
And to confirm what I was saying, I just saw the mechanic just before he left adjusting his front wing.
There's a little bit of a slight hiccup at the back of the car. I don't know if you guys noticed, but he dropped a wheel. I'm not sure if it went 100% out into pit lane, but it certainly did go over the yellow line. Interesting to see what the kart officials make of that, because they do enforce the pit lane safety and the crew to manage the car and the wheels, etc., in a very safe and controlled manner. So we'll see if they have anything to say about that. It wasn't a big drama, but they do have fairly strict and stringent rules down there. Here's our race leader, Tony Canan, set to come in this time round through the baseball stadium into turn 16. That very harsh transition from concrete back to asphalt, and he is in pit lane right now.
Yeah, this is lap 40, and just so while he's coming down the pit lane, let me just tell you that Paul Tracy, he is still a lap down. The last 4 laps in a row, he has improved upon the fastest lap of the race. So again, these fresh Bridgestone Potenza tires, oh so quick. Now, what can the pit crews do here?
Frank Kitty in as well. It's been a very strong run from Frank Kitty in his final Champ Car race. There's Kenny Brack's team. Kenny's been operating very well, fairly quiet in fourth. Oh, the fuel hose is still in, and there is a fire down in pit lane. They are calling for water. Of course, you can't see the flame because methanol burns with a naked flame. That is dreadful down there in the Canan pit. And that guy there does not have a fire suit on. That is dangerous, dangerous stuff.
Unfortunately, it's still on, and some people are still feeling the heat. Likely it's over.
Boy, what a shame for Mo Nunn Racing. I mean, everything was looking good here. The pressure was on the team to get a good pit stop in. Whether Tony Canan was waved out a little bit too soon, I don't know. Whatever happened there, it's just a great shame for this team. You know, he's done everything right this weekend, Tony Canan. He's been unlucky in qualifying, but he was looking oh so good here. And you can see there, Dario Franchitti now is out ahead of him. So even whatever happened in that pit stop, Tony Canan has lost some time. You could also see back in third place there was Christian Fittipaldi. So that did not work out. That early pit stop did not work out in Fittipaldi's favour.
And the other thing that has happened is I don't think all the fuel has gone into Tony's car.
Here's a replay. Watch the fuel. Look at that. Tony took off.
I don't know why he took off there. I don't think there didn't appear to be any sort of signal from him to get out there. And you can see that that's a horrible situation there. The methanol fire. You can't see a methanol fire, and they're pulling him out of the way. They're trying to get they're trying to pull him away from a potential fire there. And these guys are out there just trying to put out any sort of fire. That's desperately. Tragic scene. It's just horrible to see that sort of thing taking place in the pit lane.
And there is a massive cleanup to come. Scott Dixon is in further back.
What happens in that situation is once he pulled out earlier, the fuel knob was still filling the car, and that fuel is sprayed into the exhaust, which has very high temperature and ignites the fire, and then it just follows the alcohol all the way on the ground.
Scott Dixon released as he comes past that area of Monon Racing where there's water and fire extinguisher material and everything all over the ground. Dixon gets back up to speed. That's just such a shame for Tony Kanaan and the Monon team. And pretty scary scenes down there in pit lane. Meanwhile, we get back to it. 41 laps down, and Dario Franchitti leads the way from Kanaan and Fittipaldi. Brack maintains his fourth. Carpentier maintains his fifth. And then Michel Jourdain Jr., who is still yet to come in for his second stop. He's up to sixth. Junqueira has got himself ahead of Tora Takagi. D'Amato is 9, Andretti is 10. And Servia runs off the circuit, able to regain and get back on.
He's just made a pit stop, so that was fresh out of the pits there. A mistake from Oriol Servia. He was back in 14th place.
Just terrible about, here's a replay of Oriol Servia. This is down into turn 1 and decides to go down the runoff route.
Locks him up there at the end of the straight, and he was just... it was his first lap out of the pits. He just come out of the pits there and he just braked too late for turn 1.
I just can't stop thinking about that Kanaan situation. That was terrible. I feel for the pit crew.
Well, looking careful also, sometimes you get some heat, and because you know you can't see the flames, you tend to believe it's still with you. There's a chance that the fire had already been cut down, and people are still making sure you get water over you, you see. That could have happened there.
Kart team down there in that Monon Racing pit, cleaning up.
There's Michel Jourdain Jr. making his next pit stop as well. He's now back in 13th place, so just out of the points there. And here's the Kart medical safety team there, the Simple Green safety team, going to work on the Monon boys there, making sure everything's okay down in the number 10 pit.
Slight front wing adjustment for Michel Jourdain Jr. as he comes back out onto the circuit. The sole remaining Mexican here at the final race of the year for the 2002 Kart FedEx Championship. And let's hope he can have a strong finish for this enormous crowd. 100,000 in the lead up 2 days, Friday and Saturday, and well in excess of 100,000 here today. So the 3-day total will be a very, very healthy figure. Here's your race leader, your new race leader, Dario Franchitti. Then back to Tony Kanaan, Fittipaldi, the top 3. 30 laps to go, 43 down. Can this be Dario's day? Can he end his Champ Car days on a high?
And it's exactly what he needs to do if he's going to wrest away second place in the points table. If we look at the point score right now, a win is exactly what he needs. Bruno Junqueira is back in 6th place now. So if Franchitti were to win this race, that would be worth 20 points. If Junqueira were to finish 6th, he'd get only 8 points. A 12-point margin would mean actually that they would come in here absolutely tied together. Look at that, there we go. With Carpentier only 3 points back as well. And Carpentier would be, those are the positions they would finish in. Franchitti has more wins than Bruno Junqueira coming to this weekend, so if they are tied together there, then Franchitti will win that tiebreaker for second place.
Just to show you exactly how strong Dario Franchitti has finished when he has finished, he's really made the most of those races, because he has suffered twice as many non-finishers, 8-4 as far as DNFs, Franchitti to Junqueira. So when Franchitti has finished, he has finished very strong. Kanaan now runs second. Has he seen a win slip away? And there is one of his crew members being taken off to the Kart Medical Centre. Let's hope he's okay. It really makes you sit up straight and take notice when something like that happens. And the kart organisation do a very good job as far as safety is concerned, but motor racing is dangerous. We do see those things from time to time, but you never like to see them.
Yep, but I would like to mention something on that. The safety team in kart is the best in the world. I've been around in Europe. I raced for 23 years, and there's no people better than those guys out there. When we're driving, we really believe that we are safe with those guys around us. They will do everything they can to help us, and not only the drivers, but the whole crew. And they're fantastic guys.
You're riding with race leader Dario Franchitti in the 2017 Cool Green Honda. And every single driver here this weekend after the first session on Friday came back with smiles on their face. They said, wow, this track is something else. 2.7 miles, just under 4.5 kilometres. They come into the baseball stadium here. Have a look at this. This is something truly unique. And down into turn 16. You were here in the Formula One days. You raced here in the Formula One days, Roberto. I mean, does it give you a lot of joy to see what they've done and what they've done literally in 6 months?
Indeed. I actually finished 5th here with the Benetton team in '91. And the circuit here, if you think today is bumpy, you should see back then. It was extremely bumpy, and they've done a great job here. They fixed the whole facility. It's a very wide racetrack, and people really love when you drive around it. I've been driving the pace cars this weekend, and I had a great time playing with them. And it's a circuit that you must work hard all the time. And it's very, very tough on suspension, and it's very tough on gearboxes, because you've got to change down in funny places that it's very hard on it.
Well, talking with Martin Thake, who is kart's director of circuit development, he gave us an interesting little comparison. He said this track is 70 feet wide virtually all the way around. He said that would measure up to being exactly twice as wide as the Miami street circuit and half the width of that enormous turn 5 at Denver, that mile-wide circuit. But there's plenty of room out there for the boys, that's for sure.
It certainly is, and this man's taking full advantage of it. Dario Franchitti is out of the front of the field. He's turning some pretty quick laps. The last 3 laps all be within a few hundredths of another in the mid 1 minute 27 second range. And look at the gap he has pulled out over Tony Kanaan. Last time around is out to 3.3 seconds. So Dario Franchitti, he's been handed the lead. He took over the lead in that pit, so as we saw the problem for Tony Kanaan. The strategy for Christian Fittipaldi clearly didn't work, and Franchitti is now out in the lead and making hay while the sun shines, and the sun is shining very brightly on this Mexico City crowd. Here comes Dario. He's down under heavy braking here for turn 1, Roberto Moreno, and that area of the track there in the old Formula One days was incredibly bumpy, wasn't it? That was probably one of the most difficult areas of the whole racetrack.
Indeed, and I remember the year before I raced with Benetton, I had a very, very bad car to drive here, and Alessandro Nannini overtook me on the straight, so I'd say, okay, I'm following him on the slipstream. And then when I hit the bumps at the end of the straight on his slipstream, my car had no downforce, and I just did a 360 and continue. It was unbelievable when I hit the bumps. So it's really great to see that people are investing very hard in kart, and we're progressing every day, and a lot of things have happened here this weekend for the future of kart, and I'm very, very enthusiastic with the momentum that it's taking.
An update on the Tony Kanaan pit crew situation. Kanaan has been given a drive-through penalty for that pit lane violation and that terrible looking incident down there. An update on the crew members. 3 of them were injured, obviously none seriously, but the most serious of the 3, John Wayne Gape, was the guy you saw being taken off to the Kart Medical Centre. He actually inhaled some of the flame and the fire, and they're checking him out down in the Kart Medical Centre now. But good news that it's not too serious, but they are checking out John Wayne Gape, so let's hope that he is okay. And this man on screen now, Tony Kanaan, and there you see it, Jim Swintel has just given him the black flag. Tony will have to come in for a drive-through for that pit lane violation.
Yeah, such a shame. And John is the fueler on the car, so he is the guy who has the control of that hose that comes out of the pit lane fuel tank and goes into the side of the car. So he's the guy there who has to get out of the way when the driver apparently went out too soon. Now, we don't really know what happened. We're going to try and find out what happened there, why that incident occurred down there. But it's certainly a big shame for this team. And Tony had done a great job in the race, and it just seems to happen so often for Mo Gran Racing. They're looking good, and all of a sudden something comes up and bites them, Roberto.
Well, they're still looking good. They're still in second place, but what looks to have happened there is you see his rear wheels start moving before the car comes down. And once the car hits the ground, it just gets going. So he could well be fighting a clutch problem there. And it's somebody just... Because this is a unique situation when it happens, you're not too prepared for it, and they had to drop the car after the fuel came off.
Hello there, welcome back. Well, we've just had a bit of an incident out there in Mexico. I think you just heard it before we went to the break. Tony Kanaan has received a penalty now. He had to have... This is the incident here that caused it, as you can see during his pit stop. Paul, what do you make of it?
Well, unfortunately, there was a little bit of enthusiasm to get Tony back on the track, caused what has turned out to be a rather nasty little fire. But as we've now found out, Tony was given a black flag, has had a drive-through penalty, which I think has put him back into 6th place, and the kart officials are also just checking the rules, because there was a new rule that said if you injured any of your team, then the car would automatically be taken out of the race. So I think the guy down in the medical centre will make a miraculous recovery.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, isn't it, because he had been leading right from the off, Tony Kanaan, really. Bit disappointing for Monon Racing.
Morris has been trying very hard as a team owner, and he's come very, very close, and this was certainly one of the closest. But the race isn't over yet. We've still got over 20 laps to go, and anything can happen. Yeah, but he's dropped down to 6th, so, you know, still anything can happen. What do you think of it so far, Christian?
I mean, it's just a huge disappointment for the whole Monon Racing crew. I mean, they were doing a great job. They had the car leading, and they were looking like they were going to finish the season possibly with a win. And like Paul said, they're maybe just a little bit eager on getting it back out and making sure that they got out back ahead of Fittibaldi and Franchitti, and it's just such an unfortunate thing, but hopefully the mechanics and the whole crew are okay.
Yep, okay, well no doubt we'll keep you posted as to what's happening, but we'll go back to the action in Mexico.
Michael Andretti.
Wow.
And that is a big shunt. Michael crashes out of his final kart race. The Gigante Telmex Grand Prix continues. You're watching a replay of Michael Andretti having a very, very heavy crash. And that's on the exit of, it looks to me to be on the exit of turn 13. A very, very fast section of this track.
Very, very fast section of this track indeed. And why he lost control there, I don't know. You certainly use all the road on the exit. Good to see Michael out of that car. He's looking a little bit shaken there, but there are the double waved yellow flags, of course. But at least no apparently seriously damage there to Michael Andretti. Not the case for his car. That was a big crash.
We are under full course caution for only the 2nd time in this race. On lap 52, there's just 22 laps to go.
Very typical situation when you lose on the exit of the corner, you come around and you hit the inside. For whatever reason that has happened, I don't know exactly what has happened on the exit of that corner that made him lose the car.
That's right. You've got to presume that maybe if you put a wheel on the grass there on the exit, it is fairly easy to do that, because you certainly, the racing line there, you can come right out to the grass on the exit of that corner, and there is a curb there as well. If you get on that curb, that's going to upset the car very quickly indeed. And once the back end goes around at that speed, Roberto, not much you can do about it.
Yeah, you're just a passenger and you're praying not to get hurt. But luckily, he's come out of the car, he's fine, just missing a couple of corners. Very disappointed to see Michael in his last race going out that way.
That is probably the fastest corner on the track.
It certainly is the fastest corner on the track, yeah, and you're coming through there, and there's Mario Andretti there, of course, proud father of Michael, and Michael has had an amazing amount of disappointments in this series. He's only won one championship. When you consider the fact he's won 40 races in his career, it's just 42 races, of course, in his career. It's amazing that he only has one championship to his name.
Paul Tracy comes in and is serviced. A fairly relaxed rate. Paul, unfortunately, is still 1 lap down. and got shuffled very promptly out of that battle for 10th and out of the money.
It's a good strategy there to bring him into the pits, because he's now going to be able to come up to the back of the pack, and when everybody else comes into the pits, then he will at least be back on the lead lap with the rest of the guys. And then if there's another yellow, then he's back in business. And certainly there's no doubt about it, Paul Tracy has a very fast car. He still does have the fastest lap of the race. He was set way back on lap 38, a 1 minute 27.314. And if we compare that to what Dario Franchitti has been doing these last 7 or 8 laps, he's been lapping in the high 1 minute 27 second range, so about a half a second slower than Paul Tracy's fastest lap.
That's over on the back section of the circuit, in between turns 13 and 14. There's it's a very fast exit through 13, and there's a short shoot down to the 90-degree right-hand turn 14, where it brings them back into the baseball stadium. The field come past there now. The Simple Green safety team have some clean-up work to do, and Dario Franchitti sees his nearly 7-second lead evaporate.
Unfortunately for Paul Tracy, this pit stop came just a little bit too earlier than he really needed to, because everybody else is going to come into the pits for their final pit stop on lap 53. It's a 73 lap race, 20 lap pit window, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see everybody else coming in very shortly. They made their last pit stop, most of the leaders, on lap 40.
Here
fancy now, yeah, they'll all come in now on lap 53 to get this pit stop out of the way.
Great cable cam shot from the other side of the circuit in front of one of the big grandstands. Here is second place Christian Fittipaldi. Last pit stop of the day. And there's a hold up, there's a slight delay. That's going to cost him. That's going to be very costly for Christian Fittipaldi. Franchitti's able to get out there. Oh, there's a big traffic jam down there in pit lane. They are swerving everywhere, and look at this. How busy is that?
Who's that jumping over the curbs there to try and get a run out as they accelerate down onto the front straight? I'm not quite sure what the point is. That's some fairly big sort of little mounds there, but
fortunately that's illegal.
Kenny Brack got out very nicely.
Not quite sure what he was thinking there, because the yellow flags are out, so you're not allowed to overtake anywhere around the racetrack. So not quite sure what Kenny had in mind there, but I'm sure that situation will be rectified before we go back to green, and in that case I don't think we'll see any penalties applied. You can see Shinji Nakano now, he's the guy behind the pace car. He is now effectively back on the lead lap, and I think probably much to Paul Tracy's chagrin, the second car in line there is Michel Jourdain Jr., the Gigante car. He was on the lead lap, elected not to make a pit stop, so he's going for track position and a little bit of the glory. And there is a replay of the action. You can see that Michael Andretti just ran way wide on the exit of turn 13, Roberto.
He was on the grass way before that wide curb that you have there, the area that you can put your wheels there. He was off big time. He most likely his car wasn't handling well in the middle of that corner, caught the little dirt on the outside of the corner, and he was on the grass before even the corner was finished. I saw he had a move to try to avoid one of them, but he might have hit one of them. I'm not too sure.
And there's the brain trust at Team Rahal there. On the left was the race engineer Tim Reiter. In the middle was the technical director Ray Lito, and on the right Scott Remke there is the general manager of Team Rahal, as their man is out in the lead here. They're going to milk this for everything they're worth. I mean, Gigante has put a massive amount into this sport.
Well, we just saw a spectacular exit from this race by Michael Andretti. Michael is with us now. Hi, Michael. Not the way you wanted to end your kart career.
No, it's not. I'm really disappointed, to finish it off in the wall. I feel bad for Team Motorola. They've given me a great car, and, we were pushing it too hard. We flat spotted it right front, and I was really understeering bad through the last section there, and I just pushed it a little too hard and understeered off and caught the grass and went flying, so it was just disappointing.
It's a very fast section of the circuit, a fairly heavy impact. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Luckily, I hit at a pretty good angle, so it didn't hurt too bad.
What are your thoughts of this event, Michael? Great fan support. I mean, a terrific track. Have you enjoyed it so far this weekend?
Yeah, they've done a tremendous job down here. You know, the Mexican fans are just unbelievable, and the racetrack and the facility here is first class. So it's a great new event, and I'm sure it has a long future.
Michael, this is Jeremy Shaw. You know, thanks for everything you've done for this sport over the years. It must have been very touching for you to have that ceremony before the start of the race when you were presented with that award by Chris Pook.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's just, you know, just weird feelings going through your head, and, you know, but I still knew I had a job to do and all that, but it was touching, and, you know, I just appreciate all the support of all the fans that I've had over all these years, and you know, we're not done yet. We still have some more racing left in us, though.
You're moving on to an exciting stage in your life and your career as a team owner. Best of luck with it, and enjoy the off-season and your future racing, Michael.
Thank you.
Michael Andretti there, folks, as he says farewell to the kart family, and pretty disappointed. We should get back to racing this time by as the Gigante Ford for Team Rahal, Michel Jourdain Jr. There's an enormous amount of people, Gigante staff. It's a big supermarket chain down here in Mexico. There's a lot of staff here this weekend. Gigante have one huge section of that grandstand in the baseball stadium blocked off solely for their staff, their employees. So Michel's going to give them a treat with this car in front for a few laps.
That's right, and that big supermarket chain, Gigante, and Office Depot as well, is a part of that chain here in Mexico, and they've given away a lot of tickets. They've, if you buy a certain amount of goods in their stores, they've been you know, putting you in a draw to win tickets for this event, and they've been huge supporters. It's great to see that he's now out and the lead of this race. He's not going to stay there. You know, I hate to burst his bubble, but for the crowd, they love it. Michel's going to love it, and now he's going to see what he can do at the front of the field. He's going to come up for the green flag this time round. There goes the pace car onto pit lane. We're ready to go back to green, Lee.
And listen to the roar for the fans. They stand in the grandstand. They're enjoying seeing their man in front. He was born and raised here in Mexico City, and now he leads the Gigante Telmex Grand Prix here at the Autodromo Jimenez Rodriguez. We have just 17 laps to run. Whose race will this be? Kenny Brack, as he dives on the inside. Look at Cristiano de Mata. They go side by side, the two Toyota drivers. Good hard stuff down in turn one. Can this be Brack's day? Can he bring up his one and only victory of the year?
Tremendous racing there, and it looked like Bruno Junqueira got past Patrick Carpentier down in turn one as well. So we got three Toyota cars there in second, third and fourth. There's Kenny Brack. There is Cristiano de Mata, who's all of a sudden in the picture now, and in with a chance of winning this race. We saw a glimpse there of Patrick Carpentier. Here's a replay down into turn one there. We saw Bruno and Cristiano absolutely, no, Kenny Brack, sorry, and Cristiano de Mata absolutely side by side into turn one.
How things have turned around after that last round of pit stops. You talked about how costly it was for Franchitti. What about that delay from Christian Fittipaldi? He's just had some radio contact from the team. They said, sorry, we let you down. That was our fault. We'll have to settle for fifth in the championship. He runs 8, so he went from second to 8. Just how costly that was.
It comes to show how competitive this series is. One pit stop, everything can change. It's fantastic to see this kind of competitive level in the series, and I'm looking forward to come back to it.
Word from the ground from Team Cool Green, same report down there as well. The crew were just a little slower than usual, and that cost Carpentier big style. Junqueira is up to fourth. We saw, rather, Franchitti was held up down there in pit lane. My apologies. And he is back in sixth. So the order is Jourdain, Brack, de Mata, Junqueira, Carpentier fifth, Franchitti sixth, Takagi seventh, Fittipaldi, Dixon and Tagliani.
And poor old Dario Franchitti has had pit stop problems throughout the year, really, and so he won't be very happy at all down there in the car number 27. He was looking very good for the win. He had pulled out a pretty handy advantage before that yellow flag came out. Then he had to make that pit stop, and to lose that many positions, to lose 5 positions in the pits is oh so frustrating.
And with that shuffle round, the last round of pit stops, let's have a look where they sit for that race for $500,000 for second. Junqueira, Franchitti and Carpentier. This is how they would sit, and Bruno would take the cash.
Boy, what a difference there. So that bad pit stop conceivably could have cost Dario Franchitti, what, $300,000? Youch.
Costly stuff. Jourdain Jr. in the Gigante Ford leads the way, but he is due to pit within the next 5 laps to meet with karts rule, on this new rule, which in fact will be revised, we are told. John Lopes, the VP of Racing Operations for kart, was with us yesterday on the internet broadcast, and he told us that kart have certainly taken into mind a lot of the things that have transpired this year. They put in place these mandatory pit stops, and they feel that it possibly is their own fault that they may have taken some of the racing away. What's your thought, Roberto?
Well,
should it go back to the way it was, where you get into the fuel strategy racing?
I do prefer the old way because I'm very good in saving fuel. That helps me a lot. But
that's because you weigh nothing.
Not really. It's just because the way I've learned how to drive and save fuel. And we used a lot of that strategy in my first season with Patrick, and we were always up on the podium. I love that old situation. I think it gets more exciting, but this is more real racing. Whoever is fastest is up there in front. So there's a balance to it. Whatever way we have to race, that's the way we all play the rules. But I prefer a little bit the old way.
You're absolutely right there, of course, and I agree with you in actual fact. I think these rules have worked very, very well indeed this year. I think if they want to change anything, they might say that you have to make the set number of pit stops under green flag conditions rather than yellow. But that's all to be decided as this year goes along, and as the off-season goes along. There's Joe Ramirez and Michel Jourdain Sr. watching on as their boy there, Michel Jourdain Jr. is doing a fabulous job. And look, there's a massive every time the crowd, they're doing the Mexican wave all the way down the grandstands here. They stand up and applaud him every time he comes past. Here he comes. Look at that. Look at the fans. They love it. And Michel is rising to the occasion. His fastest laps in the race so far, 1:28.1 that time around. And he's, you can see we're on board with Paul Tracy, and he's pulling away from Paul.
14 laps left to run. Jourdain, Brack, D'Amata, Junqueira, Carpentier, the top 5. Bruno is in the best spot to grab that second position in the championship. Listen to the crowd as they come through turns 2 and 3. They are thoroughly enjoying seeing this Mexico City resident out in front of this race. However, he must pit before the end of this race. He must pit, in fact, within the next 3 laps. Whoa, big lock-up from Tracy.
Trying to keep up with Michel Jourdain Jr. The crowd will love that down there as well. And here's this other section of the racetrack. This is the far end of the racetrack from the pits there, and it's another effectively stadium area down there. I mean, these fans all the way around this racetrack have had a tremendous amount of action this afternoon, Roberto, haven't they?
Indeed, and it's been fantastic to watch this. You can see Jourdain's car is probably a little light, and then is handling much better than Paul, and Paul is having a hard time to keep it up, and he had a good lock up there, which could have damaged his tire a little bit, like what Michael did before. It's fantastic to see this kind of excitement here in Mexico, the last race of the season. I can only, I get very itchy here to be driving one of the cars, but I have to wait until next year.
You know, you're right, he has got a much lighter car than the other guys. So again, look at this, everybody's standing up as he comes. Listen to the crowd, this is fabulous stuff. And you know, yes, he does have a much lighter car than the other guys, but the other guys have much fresher tyres. And fresh tyres are worth quite a bit on this racetrack. So I'm not taking anything away from this guy. Another lap again there, 1:28.111, look at it. And he's pulling away from the rest. The gap when he first came around to take the green flag was just under 3 seconds. It's now over 4.5. He's pulling away, and he is loving it, isn't he?
Michel Jourdain Jr. He almost went the entire season with scoring points in every single race. He has completed the most laps this season out of all of the drivers, and he's almost 100 laps clear of the closest driver in terms of laps completed. That's Bruno Junqueira. He's virtually something like 80 or 85 laps less than this man here, Michel Jourdain Jr. And he can thank Gigante in a big way, because they came up with the money, the sponsorship that was able to put him in Team Rahal, the best car, the best team that he has ever been with in his Champ Car career, and he has risen to the occasion this year.
And as we heard at the top of the show, we heard Bobby Rahal, the team manager, saying that they have done the deal for the next 2 years. So Michel Jourdain Jr. will be back in the Gigante car for Team Rahal for 2 more years, and after the job he has done this year, he is going to be a contender in 2003.
Will he come in this time? It's either this time or next time round for Michel Jourdain Jr. He's going to enjoy this one more time.
Are you kidding me? He's not coming in until he absolutely has to. The crowd loves it. Just a great stuff. The atmosphere is absolutely fabulous. And there he goes, pulling away again. He's doing a super job, and he's coming down out into turn 1. He's going to be in the pits next time around, but he's doing an excellent job at the front of the field.
And some 5 seconds back is Target Chip Ganassi's Kenny Brack, the Swede, should be able to nail his first win of the year. However, there is nothing between he and Cristiano de Mata. The little man is not out of it either. He could end the season with his 8th win and go tied for the most wins ever in a single Champ Car season. Shinji Nakano coming in for his final stop in this one. Just 12 laps remaining here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. What an event, what a day this has been, and just think what it will be like 12 months down the track. The 3-day total will be close to 250,000, and these people here in Mexico City have been starved of world-class motorsport for nearly a decade, for virtually a decade, since 1992, since the F1 cars were here, and they've really been treated to something special this weekend. They've had one of their own. Mexico City's Michel Jourdain Jr. enjoys several laps out in front, but he must pit this time and hand the lead over to Target's Kenny Brack.
He's coming into the stadium area there, and half of that stadium is full of Gigante guests, and they are absolutely cheering on. Now he will make the sharp right-hand turn onto pit lane. Here comes Michel Jourdain Jr. for his final pit stop of the day and of the season.
I wonder how many positions he will lose. I think he's done a great job here, and he'll probably gain a lot of positions to his original place in the race.
Brack, de Mata and Junqueira just go flying by, and there is absolutely nothing between those guys. There's 1.1 seconds separating the top 4, and Patrick Carpentier is not out of it either as Jourdain is released from the pits. There's only 2.3 seconds separating the top 4, so Carpentier has had a very strong run today as well.
Yeah, Jourdain, he will go to the back of the pack. They're all pretty much strung up behind the race lead, well, behind the second place car, because he pulled away 5 seconds at Jourdain. Here he comes back out on the racetrack. He's going to be down in 14th place, so he's going to be hard pressed to get any points this weekend, but nevertheless, he has driven beautifully, and he has certainly given this massive crowd here something to cheer about.
Paul Tracy back in pit lane. It's been a very unsatisfactory weekend for Paul. He's had a lot of troubles. He lost an engine yesterday, which was quite costly for Dario Franchitti as he smashed his car into the wall, slipping and sliding on Paul's oil. And it's not the way that Paul would have liked to have ended his career with, not his career, but his stint, I should say, with Team Cool Green. Here we go up front. This is Brack, de Mata and Junqueira. 2 of the 3 Target cars in the top 3 positions. Scott Dixon is a little further down the order, but has battled on well to be up inside the top 10 in 8th.
El 44 de Dixon, en la 9ª posición el 33 de Tagliani, en la 10ª posición el
Further down in the field, just to update you on the rookie Andre Lotterer, the young German. He's done a very good job today. We saw him in a battle earlier with Michel Jourdain Jr. He's just outside championship points position. He's in 13th. And he is on the lead lap, and he's done a mighty fine job for his first Champ Car race. Kenny Brack there, now doing it comfortably. It's grown to 1.6 seconds over Cristiano de Mata, then Junqueira, then Carpentier, then Franchitti. How frustrated Dario must be with that last pit stop. Just 8 laps left to run here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. The 19th and final round of the 2002 Kart FedEx Championship Series. It began all the way back in March in Mexico, in Monterrey. It's going to finish right here in Mexico City on what the drivers describe as one of the finest tracks that they have driven on throughout season 2002. Sadly, the season ended on a bit of a sour note for Paul Tracy for Team Cool Green. Hi, Paul. Can you explain what happened? What's the situation?
Something in the end broke on the car. Something in the rear end is broken, you know, but really it's a consequence of, you know, the first lap. I mean, I screwed up. I think we had the fastest car on the track, and set fastest lap, but I took myself out of it in the first corner.
And Paul, you did turn some very quick laps there. Was that just frustration, or was that, you know, the car was obviously working well, but how frustrating was it for you?
The car was working better than we've had it working all weekend, and I was, you know, wanted to try to get back on the lead lap so we could try to come back through the field, because I could get by guys pretty easily and on the straightaway, but you know, I guess it was all for nothing, and you know, looking forward to next year, and I guess this will motivate me over the winter to get ready for next year.
Paul, on behalf of the Champ Car fraternity, we appreciate how quickly you stood up to be counted and said, I'm going to be in kart in 2003 and beyond. So thank you for that. Enjoy the winter, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you.
Christian Fittipaldi has run into problems. That frustration continues, and engine problems, Roberto.
Yeah, it looks that way. Or it looks like it might be burning the right rear tire there. Something against the tire. I'm not too sure from here. I think if it was an engine, it would have blown up by now.
Yeah, hopefully he wouldn't be cruising around on the racing line in any case with anything spewing out of it. So I think we can assume that Christian, he is a gentleman of the best order, is Christian Fittipaldi, and he's keeping off the line there, keeping out of the way of Michel Jourdain Jr. But certainly a disappointing day to what had been a very, very strong weekend for Christian Fittipaldi. He made his NASCAR Winston Cup debut, of course, 1 week ago in Phoenix. No, it doesn't seem to be the engine there. Maybe the gearbox. He's certainly spewing out some smoke there as he comes through the stadium section, and he'll be pulling it into the pits to retire this time around. It's a shame because he really is a gentleman, and he's been up at the front of the field all weekend long as Christian Fittipaldi.
Off to race for Petty Enterprises next year in a variety of, whether it be a NASCAR Winston Cup, Busch Grand National, maybe even Winston West. They're going to really throw him into a whole lot of racing to get him up to speed to go full-time Winston Cup in 2004. So we wish Christian Fittipaldi the best. We may get to speak to him before this race is done. Yet to see, we only have 6 laps remaining. And there is a report as Christian steps from the car that there is some oil on the track in turns 6 and 11. There you can see that unique helmet design. Part of the helmet on the right-hand side, this man, Cristiano de Matters, and on the other side was Tony Kanan's, and the front was his own. And Kanan and de Matter splitting those helmets because it'll be the last time that the 3 very good and close friends race together before they go off to their different ventures. As Christian says thanks to the Mexico fans, boy, have they been very appreciative of the kart drivers and the cars and the whole circus coming to town. Race leader Kenny Brack does it by now 2 seconds over Cristiano de Matter and Bruno Junqueira. And that 3rd place will consolidate his runners-up position in the 2002 Kart FedEx Championship. It's been a great year for Bruno Junqueira.
Certainly has. He's trying to get up here with Cristiano de Matter. I'm not sure. He probably won't press the issue too far, knowing that he does have 2nd place in the points all tied up here if he can finish on the podium in 3rd. What a retirement of Christian Fittipaldi also does, however, is move Andre Lotterer up into the points. He's running now behind Jimmy Vasser and Oriol Servio and Tony Kanana, a train of cars there. Lotterer continuing to do an excellent job. He's very close behind Jimmy Vasser, but he is now up into the points in 12th place.
I'm glad to see that Del Coyne's team up on the points. That's a team that gives opportunity for many rookies. My return to the kart series in '96 with Del Coyne or Peyton Coyne Racing, and it was a great opportunity for me to be seen around to the top teams and eventually find a way to get into a full-time ride in one of the top teams.
That's very true, and of course Dale Coyne also gave Paul Tracy his first ever ride in the Champ Cars as well, way back in '91 at Long Beach. Of course, Roberto, you have the honour of scoring the best ever result for Dale Coyne. You finished 3rd at Michigan in that year.
Yeah, it was a great result for us. We didn't have the best engine at the time. We were running less horsepower than most of the people, but we were able to make the car so quick that at the end of the race we were in the same pace as the top guys, and we will run a very strong 3rd finish place there.
Well, Dale Coyne will be back full-time in 2003 in the kart series. Look for an announcement that will be coming in the coming weeks. He has a driver in mind and will make that announcement very, very soon. So it'll be great to see Dale back. And I mean, he can hold his head up and be very proud of his achievements this year. He's only done 2 races, and if Andre Lotterer stays where he is for the next 4 laps, he did, of course, that 1 race at the Rockingham 500 where British driver Darren Manning finished in the points in 9th. And now the young German Andre Lotterer looks like getting 1 championship point for his 12th place. We have just lost from this race Christian Fittipaldi. He's with us now. Hi, Christian. Sad way to end your Champ Car days.
Yeah, definitely a very sad way. Really didn't go our way today, but I was very confident since the beginning. I thought we had it. There are a couple of things that happened during the race that I didn't understand why they made me stop a lap earlier compared to Tony and also Dario. And then the last stop, we had a very, very slow pit stop, and definitely that cost us the race. And after that, the engine broke. So I'm afraid to say that even if it wasn't for those two issues, the engine would have broken, and that's how I would have finished the race. But I'm very thankful for all these years to my team, thankful to my sponsor, Lilly, and I'm looking forward to my new phase in my racing career with Petty Enterprise.
Christian, this is Jeremy Shaw up here. Just tell us about that first corner down there. With your first corner of the race, that all got a bit exciting there, didn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty exciting, but there was some good driving over there. No one touched anyone. I think Bruno was a little bit too excited, but apparently things worked his way, and he's running P3 right now, and if he finishes the race, he's going to finish second. But he was definitely on the move, like in turn 1 and then turn 4 or 5, whatever. He made 2 mistakes, and while I was behind Tony, I was pushing very, very much, and Tony drove like flawlessly. He made 1 small mistake, but he never gave me any chance to try something on him.
Christian, tell us about this place, about the venue and the track. Will you remember it? Of course you'll remember it because it's your last kart race, but have you enjoyed this weekend and this track and the facility?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. These Mexican people, they did an awesome job. I think if there's something that I have to say about the track, that it's not on a positive note, it's just that it's a little bit too bumpy. Apart from that, it's by far the best track that kart has ever raced on in my whole kart career, maybe except for Elkhart Lake.
And we congratulate you on that kart career. Thank you for all the great years of action and racing that you've given us and entertainment, and we certainly wish you the best for the future.
Thanks.
Christian Fittipaldi there as he moves over to stock car racing in 2003 and beyond. We get back to it. There's just 2 laps remaining here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and Kenny Brack looks like bringing up his one and only win, and what a way to do it here in the final race of the year. His one and only win this year, I should say. He had a sensational year last year with Team Rahal, 4 victories in 2001. And this will be a nice way to round off the season.
Yeah, certainly will. He's really deserved that this year. I mean, he's had a couple of wins taken away from him. Rockingham, you have to look at that race. There was a pit stop problem in his final pit stop when he dominated the race, took him out of it. There's another pit stop problem in Portland, when he could have run the race there too. So he's had a desperately disappointing season, and now, though, it's all come right for him, and he's doing an excellent job. There's a quick note here. Michel Jourdain Jr., he came out of the pits, he was in 13th place, or still is in 13th place after Fittipaldi's retirement. He's absolutely flying. He's pulling at least a second and a half a lap on the 12th place car of Andre Lotterer, who's held up behind those train of cars there with we've got Dixon, Tagliani, Kanan, Servia, Vassar and Lotterer all together. Jourdain is catching him hand over the fist, and the crowd has noticed.
Last lap, Jim Swintel waves the white and says 2.7 more miles, Kenny Brack, and you will have a victory. D'Amato maintains his second, Junqueira still third, and Carpentier fourth. And it's a very, very valuable win for Kenny Brack, because I can tell you, coming into this race, Kenny Brack was out of the top 10. He was back in 11th position, and with this victory, it will rocket him to 7th in the championship, where he was getting back in 11th. He would get no money for finishing 11th. Finishing 7th, he will be able to share with his team $130,000. What a valuable race.
Absolutely right, and the Target Super Ganassi Racing comes up with the goods once again. They're not going to win the championship this year. They are going to finish 2nd. Looks like they're going to finish 7th as well. And Scott Dixon, he's going to be outside the top 10. He's had a good year as well. Just last lap around, Tony Kanaan got around Alex Tagliani, and Jourdain is also almost up with Andre Lotterer. So lots of racing going on. He might have a good lead now. Is Kenny Brack. He's looking good. He's only got 3 corners to go, and the first victory of the season will be his.
Toyota have wrapped up the Manufacturers' Championship, and just to rub salt in the wounds of their competitors, this will bring up their 10th victory of 2002. Final corner, final lap, and his first victory of the year. This marks 9 different winners. Brack does it in Mexico City. Great win for Kenny Brack. He played it patient in the early stages, and Target Chip Ganassi celebrate. Tremendous effort from the Swede, and look at that hand, that fist out of the cockpit. Celebration time for Kenny Brack. The frustration is over, and he finally cracks it for 2002, and that team who have endured some very frustrating times can finally let their hair down.
Yeah, that was Julian Robertson there, the race engineer. Elated he was.
The boys celebrate, and it's two of their cars on the podium. Fine work there by Bruno Junqueira, and Bruno will wrap up second in the championship. So he finishes behind his good friend Cristiano De Mata. But a great win, Roberto Moreno, for Kenny Brack. He played it patient. He sat there in fifth, he sat there in fourth, and then the team were consistent and quick with pit stops, sent him out in the lead during that caution, and the rest was history.
Indeed, and also Bruno Junqueira, who made that mistake at the beginning of the race and was able to recuperate all the way to third spot. So hats off those guys, and looks like the Toyotas are first, second, and third.
Hello there and welcome back, and if you've just joined us, Kenny Brack has just won the 19th kart race of this year, the 2002 season, taking his first win of the year, and you can see him there celebrating, and here's confirmation of the race. Kenny Brack taking his first win, as I said, of the season. Cristiano De Mata, who wins the championship, in second, Bruno Junqueira in third, Patrick Carpentier in fourth, Dario Franchitti, who seemingly lost that at... Okay, we're just going straight back to Mexico City now because we can hear from the winner himself.
Junqueira's comments.
Well, I would be very happy in his opinion, in his position. You know, he made a mistake, but he came out of it really well. He could have ended up his chance of second place in the championship. I always look the positive sides of life, and I think he's done a great job here today. A small mistake at the beginning was just anxious to be in front of the time, that's all.
Interesting to hear Christian Fittipaldi say in his observation too that he thought that Bruno was a little too anxious down there in turn one. Jeremy, we'll take it back to you. Look at that, it's pretty fierce down there.
It certainly is, it's wild down here. I'm with Cristiano De Mata, the new kart champion. You finished second today, Cristiano. You didn't have the best car, but you made the most of it.
Well, I don't remember many races that I drove as hard as I drove today. I mean, I did everything I could in the track. I really wanted a good good result, you know, for this last race with Newman Haas, a team that means so much to me, and I own everything for them today. They did a great stop, and they put me in second place. Tried to pass back on Brack on the restart, but he was running pretty strong, and I did everything I could, but the credit goes to those guys that did a great stop and put me up front.
They certainly did. So Newman Haas racing there, getting another podium finish, and you know, he's a little bit low-key, I think, Cristiano De Mata, but he certainly drove very hard and very well today, Lee.
Yeah, he certainly did, and well, interesting to hear him say that, because so often Roberto Moreno this year, he's made those victories and the podiums look easy, but he really did look like he worked hard today.
Well, when you have a quick car, it's very easy to win races, basically, and that's what he's trying to say. Today, the car wasn't so good. He had to work harder to be up front. So.
All right, let's go down to our race winner, Kenny Brack.
Well, Kenny Brack, mayhem down here. What a fabulous event. What a great drive.
Yeah, it was a fantastic day for Telmex-Gigante today, the number 12 car, the crew and everybody. It's finally we got one under our belt. I was starting to think this season was going to go without a victory, but we made it here at road racing. I thought, you know, it's not going to get one this year, but we finally did, so I feel great.
And in front of this fabulous crowd, I mean, what an event this was.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic weekend. You know, this track does kart justice. Nothing kart does this track justice. This is how kart racing should be on tracks like this. And, you know, I can't thank my team enough. Target, Toyota, everybody. It's a fantastic day for me.
Just tell us about that final pit stop, Kenny.
Well, it was, I think we short fill a little bit more than the others, actually, and got out in front, and that was what made the race. So, you know, the team did a fantastic job. We had a quick car, too. No one could stay with us when we were out there, so it was good.
It was very tight coming out of the pit lane, wasn't it?
Yeah, we always is in this kind of racing. It's very close, but this day we had all the margins on our side, finally.
Great stuff. Kenny Brack, a great drive this afternoon. He comes away the 5th win of his career and his first for Target Chip Ganassi Racing this year.
And something we didn't think about a little earlier.
Well, welcome back, and we can join our studio guests, Paul Cherry and Christian Colby. Paul, first of all, what did you think of that race? It was quite an incident at that first corner which sort of threw it away for Bruno.
Without a doubt, it was a bit of a mucky start all round, but it settled down to be a fairly consistent race, and there was a lot less attrition than I thought there might have been, considering the altitude, the fact that it had a very, very long straight that really punished the engines, and the fact that a lot of people, you know, it was a new track, there was a lot of things happening there. As Christian's alluded to earlier, it's a very twisty, turny infield part, and that generally plays havoc with the car and the driver, so I think we got a good race out of it.
I mean, the crowd out there looked very excited by the whole thing. I mean, Christian, you've raced in Mexico. What's the atmosphere like out there?
The Mexicans get so into it. I mean, especially when they've got one of their own drivers racing. I mean, you could see the grandstands just screaming, and they were doing the Mexican wave when Jourdain was leading for those 10 laps. And it was great for him. He didn't manage to score any points, but for him to be right up there leading, it really gave the race a new edge, and the fans absolutely loved it, and it really did the place and the circuit justice.
Now, it was very disappointing for Dario Franchitti, his last kart race this year, going to IRL next year. He must be very disappointed.
Yes, I mean, I think he really wanted to wrap up second in the championship. He's been second twice before in the series, and he slipped right back down the rankings again. However, as we were looking all through that race and in the studio here, that all the main contenders for second were right up there all the time. So it was nice to see Bruno actually work hard for it.
With Dario, though, he seems to have had a lot of problems with pit stops throughout the season. That seems to be what's let him down.
Pit stops and his teammate T-boning him appear to have been this year's rules. It's a big pressure situation. Those pit stops are not just coming in, taking on stuff and going out. Unlike Formula One, they only do it with 6 people, and it's hard work and it's pressure. And as we saw with Tony's thing, the slightest mistake, the wrong call, can really stab you. And unfortunately, yes, Dario has suffered a little bit, and consequently, he leaves the series in only 5th place.
They must be pretty tired by now, all those drivers. It's 19 races in that championship. They're probably glad to be at the end of it now.
Well, certainly after myself doing it for 4 years straight, it is hard work. You're on an aeroplane all the time, and the drivers, just to have some kind of regime to keep fit, I would think is pretty hard. There's no relaxation. Unlike Formula One, where it's 2 weeks and 2 weeks, Champ Car can sometimes be as many as 6 races on the trot. Now the new kart, which is fast approaching, has now gone to Formula One system, and they're spreading out the races, so I think we're going to see much more ease for the drivers and the teams.
Okay, Paul and Christian, thanks for the moment. We'll come back to you in a little bit later. Now the race is over. We can reflect on the success in this series of the Huntingdon-based race car manufacturer Lola Cars International. Their cars have dominated the series, and Caroline Samuels has been talking to the men behind the success story.
Christian D'Amato has done a great job for us. Our team here have done an even better job getting the car the way it is. It's taken 5 years. It's 5 years since I took over Lola, and we didn't have any Champ cars at the end of '97. 5 years ago, there were no teams wanting to take Lola cars. So '98 we ran 1 car, '99 we ran 3, 2000 we had 5, and 2001 we had 8. So this year we've actually got domination with 14 cars, and I think we've won all bar 2 races.
With all cars running Cosworth engines next year, how easy is it going to be to adapt the Hondas and the Toyotas to accommodate these new engines?
Well, we have made the adaptation kits already, and we have them completed now for delivery in about 4 weeks' time. We'll be able to deliver 20 kits. And all of these Honda and Toyota cars have been brought into the market. Some of the teams who used them have gone away, but other teams have bought the cars.
And the future of kart next year, it's had a whole uncertain year this year. Do you feel that Chris Pook is the right man to take it into 2003?
Yes, undoubtedly. He is the right man. He's had an awful job to do, but he's done it very well. He's assailed by an awful lot of issues that have dogged kart for the last 10 years. And when I bought Lola 5 years ago, there were 5 manufacturers there. 5. Eagle, Penske, Swift, Reynard, and Lola. And it's right now it's It's really just one. So kart has been through a very difficult time.
And it will come out the other end successful.
Will come out the other end. I believe it will work. I believe it's going to be. This coming year is a stabilization year, and I believe it will go on from there to be its own, to be the top. Other than Formula One, it is the top racing series in the world.
Well, we are constantly developing the car with the help of this 50% wind tunnel model, and we tend to design and redesign and modify various areas, obviously according to the regulations. Kart regulations tends to change, and therefore we need to keep an eye on absolutely everything on the car which can give performance. The latest update we've done was for the Fontana race, and we were very happy because it's been a very successful race for Lola.
You've got a race coming up this weekend. Any alterations?
We could possibly do some alterations because the Mexico race is a bit particular because it's at a very high altitude. Therefore, it would be interesting to keep an eye on various aspects of the car's aerodynamics. But no, it should be pretty much a standard car.
Kart have now changed the regulations for next year, and almost everything but aerodynamics has been frozen. What type of a challenge does this pose to you?
Well, actually, this is actually a very interesting challenge for us because the way we've developed our car the past 2 years allows us, within this frozen regulation, to actually have the ability to change a lot of things. And Champ car aerodynamics is quite subtle now and very well known and understood, and some little areas of the bodywork have got a huge impact on the general behavior of the car. So we are confident that we can be able to release all kinds of updates for next year within the regulations.
Well, Paul, we've just seen Martin Bourrain there from Lola Cars. What's your thoughts on what he's just said?
Lola has been one of this country's fantastic race car manufacturers. They've been around for over 40 years. However, when Martin bought the company, they had fallen on severely hard times in a very fickle market. And Martin, quite rightly, should sit there feeling very proud of himself today because in 5 years he has driven that company forward. They now dominate the kart series. They have all the major motorsport contracts. And what more can you say? It's a very, very successful, well-run business.
I mean, he's a very focused man, isn't he, Martin Bourrain?
Martin has a number of other businesses, but he is very passionate about his motor racing, having been a racer himself. And he knows what it takes to invest in a company to get it forward, and motor racing needs a severe amount of money. To give you some idea, he put in a wind tunnel there that cost in excess of £15 million. You don't make that sort of investment lightly, and I'm really glad that it's paid off.
Yeah, I mean, it will be quite exciting when we get to next year. Everyone seems to have a very positive attitude about what's going to happen.
Well, unfortunately, as we saw this year, we lost Reynard Racing Cars as an English manufacturer. The rights have been transferred to an American company. However, there don't appear to be any plans to manufacture cars at the moment. So I think we will well see just Lola in the Champ Car series. With the spec Ford engine, it's going to place the element of skill very much on the driver because we're all going to have identical equipment. So I think Martin is quite right that the transition period will be for the better.
Okay, thanks very much for that for the moment. And we caught up earlier with Dario Franchitti, and here's what he had to say.
You had a good strong run again for Team Cool Green, Dario.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in the lead, I was just enjoying being up there, and it wasn't really about second in the championship, it was about trying to win the race. Second would have been a bonus, but I just really enjoyed it today.
Now, we've enjoyed having you here in kart, Dario. You know, you're off to pastures new with the IRL next season, but what a great event, great event to finish off your kart career with.
Yeah, marvellous. Would have been nice to win it, but the event itself, you know, I think you've got to take your hat off to Jerry Forsyth for putting up the money and risking everything to come down here and build this great facility, and or rebuild this great facility, should I say. All the good fans came out today. It was a good show.
It was a good show, and Dario Franchitti was very much part of that show.
And here we can take a look at the final points standings. As we know, Cristiano De Mata, the champion for 2002, Bruno Junqueira in second, Patrick Carpentier third, Dario Franchitti fourth, Christian Fittipaldi fifth, Jimmy Vasser in sixth, Kenny Brack taking that win, the first of the season for him in seventh, with Alex Tagliani in eighth. Okay, well, we're joining our studio guest yet again, Paul Cherry, Christian Colby joining us here. The end of the season, everyone must be you know, pretty happy about that. Kenny Brack, obviously, very excited, taking his first win of the season. But of course, Target Racing did dominate kart, didn't they, with Juan Pablo Montoya? So they must think they're getting back on track.
Yes, they've just got themselves sorted out, and now they're off to race in the other series. They have been a strong force for getting on for now 6 years. 96 was their first series win, and they've, with Vassar, with Zanardi and with Montoya, been at the forefront of champ car racing all the time. I should think this year probably is their least successful year, but they have been at the front all the time, running 3 cars, and that's no mean achievement.
No. Now, Christian, as a racing driver, I'm sure you've thought of racing in kart and would like to race in kart. Is it something that we'll see you in the future?
I certainly hope so. It's something I've been working very hard on in the past few years. It's in a transitional period at the moment in the championship, and there's new teams going in, and I'm certainly pursuing opportunities over there. I said I'm doing another series as well, but it's a fantastic series, and there's a lot of drivers, good drivers as well, who are out there. For example, Kenny Brack won today, and I don't think he's yet got a contract. And obviously, all of a sudden now he's catapulted himself as a hot name, having won the last race. So he's hopeful, obviously, to go out and seal a deal for the 2003 season. Obviously,
you've raced in America before in Indy Lights, so you would be happy to be back out there at the top in America?
I mean, America was a fantastic place for me. We had a really, really good time. It ended on a slightly sour note because financial troubles hit 3/4 of the way through the season, but up until that point we had a fantastic year, and I really, really enjoyed it. And the racing out there is just absolutely fantastic, and the people are really, really good to work with, so I'd love to.
Now, Paul, let's just take a look at next year, the 2003 calendar. Obviously, there's a number of drivers leaving, as we know, and we've talked about the championship. How do you think it's going to fare next year?
It's a little bit like the English weather. There's, you know, when it rains, it'll rain again the following day. And with racing, there's always racing drivers. Yes, the old guard go and new people come in. It doesn't take long for household names to be created. But certainly the manufacturer money is what has kept kart at the pinnacle it's been at for the last few years. That's now moving to the IRL. So the chance, as I said earlier, comes where all the cars will be equal, the teams will be operating on less budgets, and the drivers will have better chance to really show what they can do. It will not be such at the whim of a screwdriver from a manufacturer.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, the IRL and kart and the rivalry between the two. Do you see kart being better next year?
I've said before this year that the kart and IRL war is over. They're 2 totally different series. Kart is an international road racing, street racing, oval racing series, which is exactly that. It's challenging on many fronts, as I'm sure Christian would allude to. But the IRL is a specialist oval series. Both is a place in the marketplace for them, and I don't think one's better than the other. They have different good points.
Okay, thanks for the moment, Paul. So the 2002 kart FedEx season is done and dusted. It's been a year of highs and lows, but it's seen a great new champion, Cristiano D'Amato, crowned today. We wish him well as he heads to Formula One, but we also wish this series well. It will have a very different look next year with all the cars powered by Cosworth engines, and this could promote even closer racing. And it's our intention to continue to bring you the series in 2003. But for now, I'd like to thank my guests, Christian Colby and Paul Cherry, for their expert comments, and all our production crew and you, the viewers, for watching. We'll leave you now with some of the highlights from tonight's race. Goodbye.